This podcast is brought to you by the Arete Podcast Pantheon. Please head to aretemedia.org to see all sorts of podcasts from our great friends. And if you want to start your own podcast, they have all the tools and resources to do so there. So that's aretemedia.org. That's ARETE media.org. On with the show, guys. We're finally here. So today, welcome to the Spur of the Moment podcast, everyone. I'm your host.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Justin Spurr. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, the incomparable Jordan. And today is a jam-packed episode filled with all sorts of guests and people. I'm very excited to have Tim Callaghan here from Backstage with Tim Callaghan, and from High Point Fitness, it's our friend Michael Raworth. And both these guys are gonna tell us about what they're gonna do. We're gonna do Tim first. Because Tim may have to take off later. He says he's going to hang out for a bit, but in the event that he has to leave, we'll do him first. Tim, tell us about Backstage with Tim Callaghan.
So initially, I'm Ghost Drums, right? I've been Ghost Drums for about a solid year on TikTok, and I started a channel to promote mental health awareness, a safe place, and just bring people together. And I was live one day, and Animal, he's a drummer, comes in, and I know that he had said something about them dropping an album, Valena. And so I started playing their music, and Valena popped in. And the next thing I know, Valena's asking me to give my number to her because Max from the record label wanted to talk to me. And so we've had multiple meetings, Max, myself, and Jake, and Rachel from Valena. And they offered me, we came up with Backstage with Tim Callaghan. And so the very first show for Backstage with Tim Callaghan will be this Wednesday.
All right. And you mentioned you were going to do it live on TikTok and then it's going to go to YouTube?
That's the goal. So today I'm testing the live studio, and then I'm going to just record with the OBS and then send it to them via the Dropbox on Google Drive.
Oh, cool. And what do you exactly? He mentioned you're playing live music so you're going to be live, obviously. So what exactly are you going to be doing?
So I initially started back about the beginning of March. I wanted to start showcasing artists. The whole thing with me is I like to invest my time. I don't expect anything in return. I want to see humans succeed. So I was able to get a signed artist who just actually dropped her second single to launch my show called Ghost Drums Around the World. The World is Your Stage. And that's what I've been doing every Wednesday. And that's what we're going to continue doing. But now with being with the record label, being on podcasts like yours, we're going to be able to extend the reach for these independent artists to get their music out there.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And so you're gonna work with these you're gonna have the different independent artists on the podcast. It's like interview style, kind of. That's the idea.
So we interview them. It gives them a chance to plug anything they may have dropped, their links, their contact information, and then they're gonna perform as well. So that's what they did on Ghost Drums for an hour. They would perform. So Lee Martin Brown was the signed artist that launched the show. We had her for an hour. And every Wednesday from there, I found artists that wanted to come on, independent artists, and for a whole hour they'd be on the show. And then we would, get to know them, like people from Brazil. We've had some singers from Brazil, and get to know about them. How do they get into music? Where do they see themselves? What's their passions? Where do they want to, where they want to go in X amount of years? And being a disabled veteran with a head injury and having a service dog, I felt dead for many years. And then music saved my life when I picked up drumsticks just a few years ago. And then I had like a 2.5 year break, and music saved my life. And I thought I knew music. We all listened to music, right, ever since we were babies. But until you take an animate object and make it sing, we don't know what music is. And literally, music saved my life. And H.C. Anderson said, when words fail, music speak. And people aren't talking in the real world, but we need to talk somewhere. And if music is going to allow us to speak and touch people, then that's what my show's about.
That's really cool. I love the fact. I mean, you sound just having met you for the first time today. You're a great fit for the network. Like, that's the one thing I found with this is like the idea that we're all here to help each other. Rising tide raises all ships. Like that, and that's why we want to have Michael here as well. Like we want to help out our friends. Like that's the big thing here. We want to help out your friends, and we want like Michael to be the fitness trainer to the stars. Like that's what we want. That's what we want for our friends.
Actually,
it's funny you say that. Is I was a fitness trainer, a self-defense instructor for about 15, 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
And when I moved to Ventura, California, I was running in Ojai with a shirt that said celebrity trainer and this and that, trying to get the attention of these celebrities. And it didn't really work. But good for you that you're into fitness, man, because you're changing people's lives, So much respect to you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I try. It's so hard. It's so hard just to get somebody in the door.
If it's for what it's worth, Michael, and we're going to talk about what you do later on. But the stuff you taught us the one day you came to the gym with us, I still do, man. Like I remember, I still all those exercises you taught us. Like they were so simple, but they're so effective, and I still remember them.
Yeah.
So.
Cool, that's awesome.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. So Tim, you mentioned what music did for you. I'm kind of a similar way with movies. Like that's why this is a movie television media thing, but it tends to devolve to movies. And that's what will happen inevitably today. So like that's really cool that music transformed your life in that way. Because it did, movies had a similar effect for me, where it was like, changed how I saw the world. So that's really cool. And that sounds really cool. And knowing that you're on TikTok and we followed each other now, I will absolutely tune out and turn in for that, because that sounds really cool.
Yeah. I made a video almost 2 minutes long, and I posted it the other day. And, honestly, there's no greater gift that you can give someone than your time. And when you give your time with no expectations in return, it leaves a pure connection between you and that other individual. And that's how I look at it. And, the pandemic hurt a lot of people, confidence, health-wise, lack of motivation. A lot of things happened. And I always say, you come in as a stranger, you become friends, and then you leave as a family. And that's exactly what, Scott and Aaron are.
There's a lot of love for you there in the comments section. I've been keeping an eye on that.
I'll tell you what, though. So Aaron's my best friend from school. We still talk. In fact, when I opened my fitness center, he drove 3 hours to come see my grand opening. And so Byron is a firefighter, and I was in a band with him in California. So the love is coming in for sure. But
it really is.
I blew up really quick, and I realized the responsibility that I had. And what had happened, if you don't mind me saying, I was just before New Year's, and a lady came in and said, I was playing a song, and I was looking at the chat, and she says, "Do you have time for a grieving widow?" So I immediately stopped. The heart started pouring in the chat. And I said, "What was your husband's name?" She said, "John." "What was John's song?" And I forget what it was. I think it was Back in Black. Never played it, but I played it. We got through it. And then I played, I think the lady's name is Lizzie, but the song's called Hope You're Dancing in the Sky. And I played it, and there was a bonding moment, and I posted that video, and within a matter of a couple of weeks, it hit 1 million views.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
And I didn't know how to take that.
Yeah.
Because I'm humble. I put my gift goals so high because I don't want gifts when I'm live. I want people to just come and enjoy the music. I don't want the money, right?
Right.
And anything I do get goes to my service dog. But that's what happened. And then the next thing I knew, I went from a few followers to where I'm at now at almost 12,000. And so that's a serious responsibility. And in a moment, if I have time, I'll tell you how it reconnected my daughter that we haven't talked in about 15 years too, which is a very it's a crazy story through TikTok. But that's what happened. And that's when I realized, you know what? If I've been given this blessing, then I need to pass it on to people. And that's what I'm doing.
That's
beautiful.
Very nice. That's very beautiful. And I mean, you thanked us for allowing you to come on our show, but when I added you, I was like, really, if anything, you're doing us the favor. So I would maybe make the argument that you're slumming it a little bit, but
teamwork makes the dream work.
That's
right?
It's beautiful, and that's a really great story, and that's really cool that you could have that. That's why I started this. Like, this began, like, this whole thing, this conversation, this moment right now is crazy to me because it began talking about Power Rangers, a thing I watched when I was a child that I know too much about.
Yeah.
That's where this story begins, and that's just crazy to me. And here I am talking to you. I mean, I'm going to say a talented musician. I haven't seen any of your music yet. I haven't had the chance, but I'm sure you're probably very talented.
Well, hold on to the talented part. But yeah. So Byron, that's in the chat. I met him through a friend, and I had only been playing a little bit. The reason why I started playing drums is when Luke Perry died. I didn't know Luke Perry, but he's the same age as me, and he just passed from one second to the next. And for some reason, it hit me. Then the same day, I saw something on Facebook that says we stop following our passions and our talents because of other people's opinions. I took my life savings. I went to the music store and I bought me an electronic drum set. And after about playing 3 hours a day for a couple of weeks, I said, I want an acoustic set that's electronic. So I tore that apart and realized how to make it. And that's what I did.
Cool.
Wow.
I was with Byron, and Byron, be humble. I mean, I was an okay drummer. We did a couple gigs. But then when I moved to Texas and the pandemic, I didn't play for almost, 2.5, 3 years. So I've been solidly playing for a year. But on my channel, you don't have success without failure.
Yeah.
And if you want to hear a song that I don't know, I'm going to play it. Unless it's some real heavy death metal with triple bass. I mean, I'm not there, right? But the haters come in, and I'm like, when people come in and hate, you have to realize they have mental issues as well.
Yeah.
Because why are they doing that? Yes, we have to block them sometimes because of what they say, but I make mistakes on there to show people that, kind of like with fitness, right? When I was a fitness trainer, I used to write these, especially the women fitness trainers, like, quit showing the after results. Show these ladies, show these people, how do you get there? Show the blood, sweat, and tears, not the after effect. And so I make mistakes, and I think that's important. All right, I mean, I'm sure Mike will agree.
I tell people it's okay. Oh, sorry.
Hey,
I just tell people it's okay to fail.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, I just tell people it's okay to fail. Like that's fine. You didn't do it. We'll try again. It's all good.
Failing's okay. Giving up is not.
Yeah, exactly. Come back tomorrow. We'll be better.
Is that what Michael Jordan said? He says, I can accept people that fail, but I can't accept people that quit. I think that was Michael Jordan that said that.
I'm not sure. That sounds
Michael Jordan.
It sounds like something he would say. I'm not a big sports ball guy.
I'm not either.
Yeah,
You know what? You know how I know it? It's where my mailbox is at the apartment building. It's posted on the wall. That's how I know it. So don't give me too much. Don't give me too much credit. And my sister's in the chat. Bad luck, Buttercup's my sister. So hey, sis, thank you for joining.
Thank you to all the people for dropping in. This is the most.
I'm keeping an eye on the chat. It's just about finding the moments where I can jump in and be like, yeah, so this person said that without derailing the entire conversation.
Is the most popular we've ever been.
I know. There's a lot of people here today.
Make sure you subscribe while you have to deal with me. Appreciate it.
That's really sweet of you. That's really sweet of you. Thank you so much. Everyone go watch Backstage with Tim Callaghan. That sounds like that's good. It already sounds lovely. Like that sounds very lovely.
I'm gonna have to check it out.
I love tuning into people's lives who are just chilling, jamming, playing music. Like that's just so cool.
Have a good day at work, Scott. Scott.
Have a good day at work.
Be safe, brother. He's going chief.
to do the hard work.
Cool.
That's true, Aaron. That's true.
Tim, unless you have anything further, I'm going to move to the news. If you want to stick out, you're more than welcome to. Unless you have anything you'd like to push with the show, any goals? What's your biggest goal, I guess?
My biggest goal is to bring independent artists into people's homes on their phones, computers, or tablets, and try to build a broader platform that musicians can get their music out. I mean, let's be honest. They want to be successful. They want to be signed, right? So having this label that we're with is a good possibility for them.
Yeah.
But it's also a larger stage.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so that's my goal. And it seems like the more I give, I get what I need. And so I think that's the whole meaning behind doing something without wanting something in return, because then it's just fake.
Yeah.
And if you stay humble and you help others, then it's going to come back to you tenfold. But that's my goal, is get as, someone with bagpipes is going to be on. You know.
Oh, that's really cool. Oh,
that's cool.
Oh yeah, again, what's your who's your first guest? That's what I should ask. Who's your first person you're gonna have on? Promote them.
So the first guest. Give me a second here, because I just signed him today. So I want to get his name right.
And then we'll move into the news.
He's a country singer of many, many, many years.
Ooh.
That is cool.
He said to me, because I'm country, 30 years he's been playing. He goes by Duffman, Duffman.
Okay.
2020, Duffman 2021 on TikTok.
Okay.
That's awesome.
I'll have to check him out. That's really cool.
Love that.
Yeah,
love that name.
Already loving the name.
And then we have Valena is going to be on as well.
I mean, I obviously maybe have a slight bias towards how much I like them, but genuinely, very genuinely, I was surprised by it's for Michael. Michael, you should definitely check out Valena. They're really quite good, but they're kind of their sound is a sort of Paramore, Evanescence kind of style, like older, like 2000s, kind of rock. And if you're into that era of rock music, of like butt rock, it's quite good. I was quite surprised by how much I liked it. Jake recommended "Cut Me to the Quick," and that song is actually I was impressed by how much I liked that song.
But listen to the words, because that album is written from personal emotions that can touch everybody at some point. That album has a concept behind it, and "Cut Me to the Quick" is very deep.
Yeah, I heard Rachel talking about it. And it's apparently it's a whole journey. The album.
It is.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. It feels insincere to, but it's sincerely. I was like, this is good. This is good stuff. I'm proud to be associated with them. That's
Vice
pretty cool.
versa. Yeah. Oh, with Valena. Yeah, Valena. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we have Emma Hunt Music. She'll be closing the show that night. She's been on my show about 3 times. She's a singer performer in England.
Okay.
She will talk about it on the live herself, but she has medical issues that she has, that eventually are going to limit her. And she's written, I don't know, a couple of 100 songs, and she's one heck of a performer. And we will do. Even Valena has stepped in to try to help her. We love Emma so much, so she'll also be on the show. Emma Hunt Music really cool. On TikTok.
That's really cool.
I have more.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say. To round out. All right, will you have? Because I feel like Virus will kill me if I don't ask this question. Will you have Again and Forever on your podcast?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
They will be on. They will be on.
Friend of the show, Virus Fox.
Yes, I was going to plug that as well at some point, but yeah, we'll have that band on.
That's cool. I also, they did a really cool. I've been on their podcast a few times, but they have a part of their podcast is they do a recommendation, and I said I recommended Again and Forever because I just happened to be on their YouTube page, but they have a really kind of interesting cover that I liked. I don't know if it's for everyone, but I liked it. Of All the Things She Said by Tattoo. That was like, oh, this is different. This is different. I quite like this musically, but I don't know that it's for everybody because it's a bit heavy metal, it's kind of screamy. And if you're not into screamy, I don't think it's going to be for you. But I liked it.
That's the beauty about music, right? Because there's so many genres, but there seems to be something for everyone that they can connect with.
Yeah, and that's what I like about to bring it full circle. That's what I like about the network, and I like the fact that we're having this conversation. I love the fact that we're all here, and even though you guys are in totally different worlds, we all share this experience, and I think that's so cool that we can do that. But with that. You're welcome to hang out, Tim. If you're up with your movie news and your movie knowledge, you're welcome to play along. But I'm going to move on with the show if that's cool with you.
That's cool. That's cool. I can add something later down the line on the show today.
Absolutely.
But yeah, let's hear from Michael.
Yeah, you're welcome to hang out. We're gonna at a certain point, Mike. As a heads up for the rest of the show, there will be a section called Dungeons and Dragons shit with Michael. Because Michael.
Oh god. something I haven't played since my baby came along. But all right, I'm up to date.
I feel like you're probably going to be slightly more familiar than we are, nonetheless. But we have to talk about our origin story, where it all began, how I met Michael. We're gonna do that later. That's going to be fun. But to start off with...
Our deep lore.
Yeah, our deep lore. We have a
lore.
We have a lore. We have a lore. We have a history. To start off with, let's see here. Let's start off with some news. They put out a trailer for this Mighty Morphin Power Rangers game. It looks like a very basic 2D beat 'em up kind of arcade game. And I was disinterested in it until it was like, it's about time travel. And I'm like, ooh. Like, it's about, in the newer seasons of Power Rangers, there's an evil robot version of Rita Repulsa, who is like, who's a version of, the bad guy from the original series. And this game is about her going back in time to help the Rita from the original series. And
the article that Justin sent to me basically describes it as the bad guys are trying to stop the Power Rangers from ever existing in the first place by going and stopping that. And so a bunch of the like stuff in the game is, I guess, going to be recreations of famous scenes from the original show, but like different. Maybe? I don't know. It looked weird.
I don't know how different it can be when it's just a beat 'em up game.
Can I add something to that since you're talking about the Rangers? If you go down on my timeline, you'll see me on a live with Brian Beto's show that I was on, doing the intro to Eye of the Tiger, the cymbals, and the snare with my numchucks.
Oh, that's so cool.
Awesome.
That's so
awesome.
Cool. That's really awesome.
I had to plug it since you're talking about it.
No, by all means.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
that's funny.
There's also it also made me go, next time they do the Rangers, they should do it as a cartoon. They should do it as an animated series. Instead of trying to do it live action, because there's a really cool shot of the Megazord in that trailer that's like animated that made me go, ooh, like, just to be different, like, this time around.
Plus, if they did it animated, then it would also allow them to do some of the stuff that they've done in the comics. Like, there was one where it's like Trini ended up with the I might be misquoting this, but I seem to remember it's like where Trini ends up with a different suit, like she ends up as the Red Ranger.
Really?
And it's like this whole, like, she doesn't feel like she's like she should have been given the Red Ranger, and I don't know the details of it, but I know that. Or there's they could do the storyline where there's the Tommy from the alternate universe who's evil and he's Lord Draken. I love that.
I liked his picture. He looked really rad.
There's a really sweet.
Like I've seen there was a trailer for one of the Morphin games or whatever back when before David Frank passed away, where they actually had him in the Lord Draken suit and it looked dope.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was in live action. Cool. It looked sick. It was like, this looks really cool.
So cool.
Yeah. It was like, oh, this is
sweet.
If
they did an animated version of that with a voice match and they did that entire storyline, I would be down.
Right? Apparently, guys, there's a Quidditch game coming out that I somehow completely missed that I thought was just DLC for the Legacy game, but turns out...
Another Quidditch game? Because there is already a Quidditch game on the PlayStation 2.
There is. Initially, I thought this was just free DLC for the Harry Potter Legacy, but it appears it's a full-bore game, and it ties into Legacy somehow because you get free DLC with it. But like, honestly, that Quidditch game is pretty fun. Like, if you're into Harry Potter,
it was fine. Considering it was on the PlayStation 2. Yeah. So, like, an evolved version of that game, I wouldn't inherently be against.
Right?
Scott says, Tim, I'll see you later. Got to do my day job. Good. I thought he already left.
Thanks for hanging. Have a good day at your day job.
Thank you for having. Yeah.
Whatever that day job may be.
There's a lot of comments here, and I'm having a hard time keeping up with them.
So, I don't know how up you guys are with boxing, but how are we feeling about Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson? Do we have any feelings about that?
Yes. Yes, I do. I have a lot of feelings about that.
Excellent. Poor Michael. I feel like you haven't had much to contribute. How do you feel? Okay, let's start with how do you feel about it, and then I'll tell you the news about it.
Oh, it's just a scam. I hope it's not a scam. I kind of hope Mike Tyson knocks him out.
I mean,
but now the fight pushed back.
Okay, so you are familiar with the news I'm about to say. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the news. Is that it's getting pushed to November because Mike Tyson be real old, yo. He's real old. It turns out.
Yeah, he has an ulcer or something, and something happens, and gets pushed.
Doesn't seem like a fair fight.
Have you kept up? Oh, that's a stupid question, but have you kept up with Jake Paul's boxing career?
Quote unquote.
Yeah. Yes. Very good. Quote.
Yeah, it's fair. So, okay. The reason I ask is because this fight just in concept reminds me of the Logan Paul Floyd Mayweather fight, where this is where I see what I see happening. I see this going all 5 rounds or 6 rounds or whatever it is. It ends in a draw. Mike Tyson gets to pretend that he somehow still got it, and Jake Paul gets to be like, I stood toe to toe with Mike Tyson, and that's it. That's the entire function of this. And then he can somehow pretend he's a real boxer. He's like, oh, I beat Mike Tyson, even though Mike Tyson's like 60.
You want to hear my take?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Absolutely.
I think the whole pausing and taking it to November, because Mike Tyson said, absolutely, I'm not going to fail. I'm going to knock the full out. I'm going to give him some time to train. So when he gets in the ring, he may have a chance, but he won't. That's what I think is happening. I think the whole changing it to November is some type of stunt to give Jake Paul a few more months to get his affairs in order and maybe train a little bit more. I don't think if Mike Tyson takes the fill on this like Mayweather did, I'm done.
I mean, yeah, fair enough.
To be fair to Mayweather though, my favorite I've said this 1,000 times, but my favorite moment in that Logan Paul Floyd Mayweather fight, there's 2 actually. It's the one where you can see in Floyd Mayweather's eyes that he realizes in the moment that Logan Paul is not a very good fighter, and that he could seriously hurt him if he takes this seriously, and he should immediately stop taking this seriously. And then the other moment is when he knocks Logan Paul unconscious for like a brief moment. Logan Paul goes unconscious. He falls into his shoulder, and Floyd Mayweather literally carries him for a solid like minute and a half. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. Like, that fight is a joke.
it's okay, little buddy. Have a nice little nap.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, and so then when he showed up to fight the other YouTuber he fought, that he was dancing around the ring, and everyone's like, why isn't Floyd Mayweather taking this seriously? It's like, that's why.
I wonder why.
Yeah, that's the funny part. He is taking it very seriously. And he's like, I'm not going to kill this kid.
Yeah,
I'm not going to kill him.
Yeah, I don't want to hurt this kid, and I could hurt him badly. He did him a favor. But yeah, that's my first thought on this Jake Paul Mike Tyson thing was like, I don't think anybody wins here. Like, nobody really wins coming out of this.
Well, it's kind of a lose-lose for Jake Paul, right? Like, right? If he wins, he beat up an old man, but if he loses, he got knocked out by Mike Tyson. And
right.
An old man.
And he got knocked out by an old man. Yeah. Like,
but if somebody gives me $150 million, I'll fight him.
Be careful. I think I'm the same age as Tyson when you say old man. I'm just kidding.
And I fully believe you could beat Jake Paul. No, I'm kidding. Jake Paul of those influencer boxers is probably, I don't know, maybe he's the best one. But all of his fights just
he is.
They seem set up to allow him to win, but at least his ego is in check, I think. KSI, to get into the influencer boxing, KSI is a far worse boxer than he thinks he is, and it upsets me. I don't know why it upsets me so much, but it upsets me. Like this is such thing as like a shameful victory, guys. I hate
because unchecked bravado is irritating. That's why. Yeah. It's just at that point arrogance.
Yeah. Anyway, that was my bit on the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight.
I will say this thing. I am okay with the influencer boxing. That's totally fine.
Oh, I love
charity.
It. Oh, for charity. Yes.
Only for charity.
Yeah.
Only that, like that
Yeah.
brawler bash or whatever. That's totally fine. But what Jake Paul's doing is like he's stepping into a world that I think he just wants to step into because he's jealous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree. You're like your standard, like when they have like the Marisha Ray versus that other girl, or like the Erin Hansen versus, like, those ones are just fun for charity. Entertainment. Like, they're not you don't have a professional going up against an amateur who's going to knock one of, like, the teeth out of one of them, I agree.
Because at least we know it's like, okay, the money's going towards charity, but with Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, like, you don't know if it's fake.
Yeah,
you don't know what's going on behind, like, what they signed.
Exactly.
Exactly. Headgear, and then it's without headgear, and then it was exhibition, then it's a real fight.
Yeah,
it's like, what's going on?
I definitely
agree
with that.
I think it's a lose-lose for Mike Tyson too, because if he wins, then they're going to be like, as trained as you are, you should never have fought this guy. And if he loses, people are just going to call him out for being a sellout.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I honestly think it's going to, my prediction is it goes the distance and it ends in a draw. Like, that is I will be shocked if anything violent happens to either of those guys.
It's just one of those things where it's like, it's a no-win scenario because you're not going to believe any of the outcome. It's just going to come across as fake.
Yeah.
Because in this instance, you guys are right. No one wins.
Yeah.
Even if one of them wins over the other, well, then you're like, well, okay, so either Jake Paul threw the fight, Mike Tyson threw the fight, one of them threw the fight. It's scripted. It's not real. Like, it's.
I mean, yeah.
I don't believe that either of them are going to go all out on the other because it's just not a fair fight.
He fought one boxer and lost. And to be fair, that fight was also embarrassing for the boxer because the boxer barely won. But the one real boxer in his weight class, in his age range that he fought, he lost to. Like, I'm just saying.
Now that being said, when the whole Mike Tyson thing got pushed back, the two brothers stared going at it and going like, oh, well, maybe it's time to finally settle this family feud and all that. And you know what? I would show up for that. Even if that is fake, just to watch them beat the crap out of each other would be funny.
I think that should be they constantly threaten to do MMA fights. I think that should be the time they do an MMA fight. The first time they do an MMA fight, each of them is fighting each other. To be fair, we had Jake, our podcast boss of Arete Media fame.
Pantheon
fame. Yeah, we had him on and we talked about Logan Paul. And I actually respect what he's doing in the WWE. As a fan of professional wrestling, I respect that. He's actually trying. He actually cares about the sport that he's in. I don't think Jake Paul, I think, Michael, you kind of said it correctly. I don't think Jake Paul cares about boxing. I think he pretends to, but I don't think he actually cares about boxing.
Yeah.
Michael also said something that triggered something in me, is that maybe they're just getting rich off the promos for this. And then Michael had mentioned charity. Maybe at the end, they're going to be like, yeah, let's do this for charity. We're just going to tap gloves. Let's not go all out. It's just for charity, like an exhibition type. But they're getting rich off of the promos as well.
Yeah, they could absolutely do that. Yeah.
I could believe that.
As well, yeah.
Well, you're going to see what's at the center of the ring, and for promotion, it's going to be Prime Energy drink, whatever.
Oh, for sure.
Garbage.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I had it once. I had it once, and I was like, "No sugar, my ass!" Like, there's no way. This shit is way too sweet.
There's no sugar. There's no sugar. It's just like Splenda.
That cannot be true. It is so sweet. Like, I was like, this is disgusting. Like, I was like, this is awful.
It's just got a sugar substitute like Splenda.
I know. Okay.
I have a rule. I have a kids fitness class that I teach. My one hard rule is if I see you with Prime Energy drink, like, you're doing wind sprints outside. Like, if I see you bring that in, like, I will make you throw up.
That's good. Good.
So bad for you.
That is the correct thing. That is the correct action to make here.
That's great.
That is more than I ever intended to talk about the Paul brothers. But they're apparently, I think we've talked about this before. I've talked about it with Jordan. They're making a Ghostbusters animated series for Netflix, and it's unclear. They still have yet to say whether it's connected to the movies or not, or if it's a new thing, or what the deal is. And then attached to that, they're apparently
Thank you, Aaron.
Their parents.
Aaron says this is some great pod, guys. Excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, that's very sweet. There's also apparently a Terminator anime coming out. I don't know which one of those stories is more enticing to you guys.
Sorry, what was the first one you said? I was busy reading the comments.
There's the Ghostbusters animated series that's coming to Netflix, and there's a Terminator anime.
Okay.
Which of those stories is more enticing to you guys?
Terminator.
Ghostbusters the Terminator. Interesting. I'll sweeten the pot on the Terminator story. Timothy Oliphant is going to be in it. I don't know if that means anything to anybody. He's the Terminator apparently in it.
Okay. I'm
a business.
I think I'm more interested in the Terminator personally because I don't think that's been done as much. We've had an animated Ghostbusters show before. I haven't really seen an anime Terminator, and so that is more different to me.
Yeah, that is definitely. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it depends on what they're doing with Ghostbusters. I don't know. I haven't really felt Ghostbusters recently, so I'm like,
I had to deal with the 2014 Ghostbusters last week, so I'm still riding low off that. So,
that movie's rough.
When you say animated, is it like Japanese anime or is it?
The Terminator is anime, like Japanese anime. The Netflix.
Oh, that'll be crazy.
The Netflix is American.
Right? That's okay. So like the Netflix is like your like Avatar or like is it like Saturday morning cartoon?
I have no idea. There's nothing to be. No one knows anything about it yet, other than it looks like it's being made by the people who made the last movie. That's the only thing that we really know. The Terminator. The Terminator. I have screenshots I can't show you guys, but I have screenshots, and it looks. I mean, it's an anime. It looks anime. Like
the fact that it's an anime definitely piques my interest because
it's from Japan.
That means that means that it can be violent.
Yeah. And then
which is cool.
And then finally, a trailer came out for, and this is music related, but Pharrell Williams is doing a biopic, but it's Lego.
I saw that.
Okay, so
that's okay.
Is that real?
It is absolutely, according to this, it's a real movie. Yes, as far as this it was.
I thought that was fake.
No, it is apparently a real movie that is coming out. I saw the poster for it and thought it was fake, and then there's a trailer. I watched the trailer. Like it's absurd. It doesn't make. I don't understand who is the audience, who is the target. The reason this isn't Lego is because Pharrell Williams just wanted it to be Lego on a whim. But like in terms of demographics, who is this for? Like I don't think children who would be into Lego movies are gonna be really all that interested in the story of Pharrell Williams. And I can't imagine Pharrell Williams fans are gonna be like, yeah, Lego is the way I wanted to see this story. So I guess I'm not sure, Tim, if you have children as well, but I guess as a person with kids, who is this for?
My answer might be controversial. Perhaps there's an agenda.
Interesting.
In the storyline item, because I don't know who the demographics would be. I mean, I wouldn't take my kids to see it.
No, I don't think they'd be interested in it. I don't think kids would be interested in Pharrell. But I mean, it's dressed up, family friendly. But yeah, so Michael, would you? But
it's a biopic.
It's a biopic. It's a story about his life. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see that being for kids.
So I guess Michael, you joked and said I'll take my kids to it with the tone in which you wouldn't. So
yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, no, like right now, I'm sure he's playing with his Minecraft Lego over somewhere. But man, like that's missing the mark.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless he was bullied really bad and something else in his life, and there's some type of motivation that shows kids that be yourself, follow your dreams and goals, and you will succeed. I mean, that's a possibility too, right?
Yeah, perhaps.
Maybe.
I mean, it's sorry,
it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting if they told it like there's Pharrell, right? and then they told it through flashbacks of like maybe he's explaining it to his kids, and it's like, let me explain to you in Lego.
That's kind of
like something relatable.
That's kind of what that's kind of the vibe the trailer. It's him telling the story, and it appears to be related through Lego, but the style and the delivery, I don't know how to explain it unless you've seen the first Lego movie. It's the same sort of style, aesthetic, and kind of humor as the first Lego movie. So
interesting.
Yeah. So it's like you know how like they did Ninjago. This is like another Ninjago. Like it sounds like he just really liked the aesthetic of that Lego movie, and he was like, this is how I'm going to tell my story. Which, like, good for him. I just don't see. Like, I hate to pile on to the like movies are dead or movie theaters are dead crowd. I just don't see people are going out to pay for that. I don't know. Maybe I'm being cynical. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
It's certainly a choice.
I mean, if again, it's kind of like going back to the boxing. If somebody gave me $150 million and was like, "We'll tell the story, but we're going to do Lego," I'd be like, "All right."
Yeah, true. I guess. Yeah.
True.
Yeah,
True.
And I mean, Pharrell Williams, his name is on the box, so I suppose he could do whatever he wants, and this is at his whims, so he wants this.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess if I was making a movie about the story of my life, I'd like people to take it seriously. I guess I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. With that, that is the end of our news for today. There wasn't a lot of it. Which is fine, because we got so much to talk about. We're going to move into the major bulk sponsorship section of the show, where I'm going to shout out, Michael, tell us what you do during the day. Or at night, I suppose.
At night, yeah. Batman. So I'm just a personal trainer over here in Abbotsford. And so I run an early morning boot camp. I got kids fitness classes. I'm actually going through like a rebrand at the moment. You probably saw my name change. Name change.
I did notice that. Yes,
I did.
Yeah. So I had a client talk me into doing videos and me awkwardly on camera.
I saw some of those.
I hate it so much, but it's definitely helping quite a bit. And I did a little.
You should have told me that. I can help you with that.
Oh yeah, I mean, anytime you guys want to come film me and
I can
down on camera.
I can throw you some tips about how to get because Jordan's going through a similar thing of being uncomfortable on camera.
I can't. Whenever we do these, Justin does
Tim,
the editing because I can't watch myself.
If you seem very comfortable with yourself on camera, but it's a thing of like you just kind of have to. This is gonna sound very strange for me. I eventually decompartmentalize. So the guy who is on camera is not the same guy who edits, who produces, different hats, but it's very quite literally like when I'm watching, that's a totally different person. And I almost dissociate when I'm actually doing it. And then it sounds so demented, but it kind of helps with that, where you're like, especially if you have another person. That's why a lot of people have other people doing editing. But if you're the one who has to look at because that was a big thing for me.
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay, you're lucky then, because I have to look at.
She does it for me.
My own stupid face. It's very much a thing. Like, I hate the sound of my own voice and I hate my own face. And it's just a thing you kind of desensitize yourself to. I don't know how else to describe it.
Did you say I look comfortable on camera?
You feel like you're comfortable on camera, yeah.
You do seem like you are.
I think I've reached an age where I don't care anymore. Like,
that also helps.
It's like I don't even look at myself when I'm in the mirror. It's like I'm on camera, and it's just I mean,
I think that's good. It'll help you.
Just get to an age, just like I don't care what you don't like my background, you don't like my face. That's fine. You're not paying my bills, but it's like when I go. But what's funny? I'm comfortable here with you guys, but every night I go live, 5 minutes before that, I have to talk myself into because I'm nervous as heck. Every single time.
If it makes you feel any better, I respect you for TikTok Live because Jordan will attest. I did it for like about 2 weeks and it made me so angry. I usually do my TikToks in my room, and I came out to our common living area, and I threw a bottle like really angrily, and Jordan was like, maybe you shouldn't do TikTok live anymore. And I was
not without a moderator anyway, because people on TikTok are mean. That's one thing that, like, I popped into other people's lives and just seen the general vibe, and it just seems to be a general trend where people on TikTok can be very mean and mean spirited, and you really have to have thick skin.
Yeah, but
like really, really thick skin.
To your social media presence, Michael, with your self fitness business, I do live vicariously through it. I watch the people who you work with. And it's really cool to see how you track their progress and you track them getting better at stuff. And that's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, it's usually very private. I should take more pictures before and after. I've tried to get some people in as like case studies to be like,
cool.
if you follow X, Y, Z, you will lose weight, you'll look better, be healthy. Again, that's pulling teeth with people. Like it's surprisingly hard, and sometimes I'm like, I'll do it for free, and even they'll say no.
Interesting.
And it's weird.
Now, I don't want to spring you, but would you collaborate? Because I'll be a case study.
Absolutely. No, I would absolutely whoop your butt.
I'll be a case study, especially if you'll do it for free.
Yeah.
For free promotion. It can show up on the Spur of the Moment podcast TikTok.
Absolutely, I will sponsor the hell out of you, Michael. I'll do it.
Yeah, we'll show up and be like, "How do you feel today?" You're like, "Oh, terrible."
Terrible. I look, man. I'm not a chunky guy anymore. But look, for me, I have stuff I need to work on, and I'll do it. We'll talk.
Cool.
But yes, if you're in the Abbotsford area, I don't know how many of the people who listen or watch this live in the Abbotsford or even the Lower Mainland. Michael is very good. He is very nice, and he is very, very supportive. And his tips, like I said, I still use them to this day. So I remember,
I do online training as well.
Yeah, and that's another thing is based upon your various pages. You are very versatile in your training.
Just reach out. I can set up some online training. I do everything. I set up your what to do, when to do it, what to eat, how to eat, more importantly. And it's basically just like do this. There you go. Have fun.
That's cool. That is very cool. That is very cool.
And with the power of the internet, you could reach out to people in America, even theoretically, with video chats.
Yes, we do have a partial American audience because of our American friends. So as he says, he can do it over video. He can whip your butt over video. And he's as we have discovered, he's very nice. And he's very gentle.
Yeah, he really is.
He's very patient. Patient. We're gonna talk.
I can attest to his patience.
unless you walk in with the wrong energy drink.
Yeah, unless you walk in with the wrong energy drink, that is true. I can promise you, I'll never have problem in my hands, Michael.
It's on. It's on. I like that though. I like that because when I was a trainer, you know how many people I had that had problems with their health or had their kidneys removed because of some of these energy drinks. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know if Michael agrees with that or not, but there's case studies and it's true. And people don't realize if I take one of those, it'll set off my PTSD. It's That doesn't, because it makes your heart go and it makes you really, absolutely. That doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
and there's definitely been. You're right. There's definitely been case studies and examples of the energy drinks just not being good for you, especially if you're. I mean, anything with moderation, not anything, but certain things with moderation aren't necessarily bad. But a lot of people have the bad habit of overdoing. I should know. I have a terrible Diet Coke addiction.
Diet Coke's fine. Diet Coke is totally fine. You're not going to get cancer. You're not going to get anything.
Oh, good. That's good because I drink that a lot.
Good to know.
That's good to know. This is why we need a trainer in our lives. That's what I'm saying. Health advice. Yeah, I mean, if you every once in a while isn't going to kill you, as well.
Black coffee all day. Black coffee all day. That's my advice.
I can't. Too bitter. I cannot do coffee. Cannot do coffee.
Not a coffee guy.
But that's really cool. And yes, he is I've seen, like I say, he's got a lot of people, and you see them progress and get better, which means he must be a decent trainer if they're getting better. You're seeing the results on his social media.
Must be doing something right.
And also for both of you, I have your medias in the description, so you can click all the links to go to all the pages and talk to them and do all the things.
I was going to ask you about that. That's cool.
Yeah. I've linked to yours. To yours. For you, I did your Facebook, but you can let me know if there's a better one. If you want more than one, if you want your Instagram as well, I can do that. Let me know. I can do things retroactively. YouTube's cool like that. So with that, we're gonna move into the main topic of the day. Actually, no, sorry, I lied. We're gonna do D&D shit first, because how we know Michael. Michael is.
I actually got my D&D stuff right here.
Michael was very patiently our DM, and he is one of the greatest DMs I've ever had.
He is
very talented DM.
He is the
greatest DM I've had.
A dungeon master. He's the leader. He's the guy who creates the story. He's the guy who
the world
builds the game and the world builder. Yeah. Dungeons and Dragons, Tim, if you're unfamiliar, is a fantasy role-playing game where you play tabletop RPG that you play with dice. And the DM, in this case Michael,
and paper,
creates a story that quite often the players disrupt. Then he's cool enough to tell you in which way at the end of the session. That's pretty cool. And he lets you do really fun things. And I don't know if you remember this, Michael. I don't know if you remember Tim, my druid. I suspect you remember. Okay, good. I'm glad you remember Tim, because I feel the need to tell you, and we're going to talk about Baldur's Gate 3, but I feel the need to tell you that Tim lived on into Baldur's Gate 3. Tim, named after
Tim,
I don't know
Tim the Mighty Druid.
Tim the Mighty Druid, named after Tim the Wizard from Monty Python. That's where he got his name. It's like having such a boring, ordinary name. But yeah, he lived on into Baldur's Gate 3 and moved into a normal monogamous relationship. No more 4Gs for Tim, because being chaotic in that being chaotic in that game is bad times.
You're going to explain that one, Justin?
Oh, I suppose I should.
You can go into detail about how that came into being?
Oh, okay. So, how I met Michael. He let me join in a few times on a D&D campaign where he let me create a druid named Tim. And he let me do a lot of cool things that we couldn't do in the game at the time. Like, you let me turn into an owlbear, which I believe you couldn't do at that time, right? Like, you gave me bear
No,
stats.
you couldn't.
No, which is why in Baldur's Gate 3, when I turn into a owlbear, it makes me giddy, because I'm like, that wasn't a thing when I did it. You let me do really cool things and get away with a lot of shenanigans. I really appreciate it because I started watching Critical Role, how much shenanigans you let us get away with.
Absolutely.
You were just like, I'm cool with the shenanigans as long as it's cool.
Yeah, it is quite a wonderful game if you really stop and think about it. I explained it to my wife when she first started. She's like, "Oh, I'm thinking of playing." She's like, "How do I play?" And I was like, "Oh God." I was like, "Okay, just imagine a game where you can do anything you want within the realms of like what's possible in that world." So like her first psychotic act was to lock a necromancer in a house and burn the house down.
That's great.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, well, there goes that encounter. Crumple, bye.
We broke over my years of playing with you and as my DM. We broke quite a few encounters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dang.
And it makes for great stories. There's a lot of great stories that we created, crafted together over the years.
I mean, I talk about all the time.
Okay, so I have a question, Michael. If you're the dungeon master, you guys are all coming to play, right?
Yep.
So that means that you spent a lot of time creating that world, right? Before the game?
Yeah, so movies are a big inspiration, comic books, other books, whatever, is huge inspiration, and you get this idea for a world in your head, and you start with a town, and then from the town you go to the local area, and from there you go a lot farther than that. And then you do have to think about, like, well, how does this town run? And it's like, okay, well, it needs someone in charge. Who's in charge? It needs somebody to keep guard. Who's the guards? And then it just kind of spans out from there.
And I know, Michael, that and I know, knowing this in retrospect, because again I started watching Critical Role, that you took a lot of inspiration from Matthew Mercer and like a lot of his ideas of what dungeon mastering is, at least in retrospect. That what it seems like, the idea that it's supposed to be more of a collaborative experience, not like a dungeon master versus like the players. It's not supposed to be an antagonistic relationship.
That's correct. Yeah, like, don't think of me as I run the bad guys, I play the villains, but I'm on your side. Like, I want you guys to have a good time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You're like the actor who plays the villain. You're not actually the villain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that was one thing that with our group was that anytime there was frustration amongst the players, like, you would be like, okay, let's talk about this and how we can like move forward and like all have fun, kind of thing. Which is, I mean, so some people have put Dungeons and Dragons on their resume as a team, like team building. Like, it's a team building exercise.
Yeah,
and if you're the DM, you're the facilitator of that team based exercise. And I absolutely see how people could do that, put that on their resume, because especially the DM wrangling like 5-6 people and into following a cohesive idea and working together and not butting heads is absolutely an impressive skill, and shows at the very least supervisory skills.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, especially. Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of personalities coming together, right? Not everybody is cohesive with each other. So just kind of keep everyone on track can be hard. I prefer it. I prefer DMing. I started playing in another friend's campaign a while back, and it's just like, I'm having fun with this one character. I really am. But it's like, I just love creating the world and just like running everything else. Like, I think that's the part I like, and which I think is very rare.
I
Mike
mean,
for president.
It is.
Yeah.
Mike, you got my vote, man. I love your energy. You know, Dungeons and Dragons have been around forever, because I remember back in 1982, my friend in school would play Dungeons and Dragons. But the very few times I had a chance to ask, like, to join, I got the same answer: we don't have time to teach you.
Oh, that's such a shame.
And so I just never, just never partaked in it. But I have a friend named Keith, and he's in his late 20s, and he plays a lot. And so it's like, it's interesting to me, but it's never been as interesting until what you just described. That's
you would I think getting to know you today, I think you'd have a good time. It's a very collaborative experience when you get right down to it.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of improv in it.
There is absolutely a lot of like improv, and that was one thing I was going to say, is that if not everyone is aware of or is willing to do kind of what if, it kind of you have to kind of agree on a play style when you're going into it, and if people have one idea versus another, there can sometimes be friction in a group, which leads to butting heads.
To go to a really classic example for Michael, I'm going to tax your Critical Role memory. I'm going to challenge it. But Tiberius, his play style, he eventually just didn't jive with that group. I mean, there was nothing wrong with how he wanted to. I saw a really good YouTube video that broke this down, and he was like, "There's nothing inherently wrong with the way he wanted to play the game. It just wasn't jiving with the way the others were, and it just didn't work out." And in that case, you're not supporting each other as a group. And I think that's what the show kind of became. I'm really early in it, but once it became about supporting each other, that's when D&D is at its strongest. I find, like, there's a lot of moments we had that were like that.
Is there an end game?
I don't know, Michael.
It depends on the DM. So sometimes, like with a Critical Role, for example, there usually is a final boss. I don't want to. Justin's watching that, so I'm not going to spoil what the final boss is. But it sometimes the DM will just ramp up the difficulty until players die.
Yeah, there was a video I saw of sometimes there is no end game. Like there's a video I saw of a group, they had been playing D&D for I think he said 20 years. Like they were like,
oh wow,
yeah, they were like level, like they were like the max level. They were essentially gods in their own universe, and he could no longer find things that were like a challenge for them anymore. Like they've been playing for so long. So yeah, it's more about getting together with your friends and having fun than it is about beating the game. But sometimes your DM comes up with clever ways to end your characters. I mean the story.
I'm never gonna forget one time in one of ours where the ocean had basically been split apart like the Red Sea, and one of our players attacked the person that was keeping the waves at bay, and it came crashing down like the Red Sea, Moses crushing all the people. And I just remember it's like looking at Michael, and Michael being like, you could clearly see him in his head going like, okay, is there a way they could have survived this? No.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. I remember I had to I Googled it. I was like, how much water, how much does it weigh on each side? And it would have just turned you to just mist. Like you would have just been mist instantly. And I was like, oh, I don't know if they can get out of that.
I remember that because he came home and he was
never gonna forget that.
My character is dead, but it was awesome. I will say that.
It was probably the best way I could have died.
I mean,
but
okay.
if your character dies, can you come back into the same game as something else? Or is that it?
Yeah.
Theoretically, like if just my character died and the rest of the party died, they could theoretically resurrect me. And there are narrative ways that you could work in solutions to the problem of death.
Yeah, but sometimes it means more to have a character be dead.
Yeah, you have to think so in my role, it's like, say I killed one of you, I'd have to think oh, was that satisfying? Like for them, was it the quick story about one of my brother's characters. I remember he was playing a monk, and he ran up a dragon, like a little wyvern, nothing too crazy, but its tail came around, stung him, and its poisonous tail, I think, paralyzed him, and he just fell and landed face first into the mud.
I remember this one.
And then through the turns, he just kept failing. So when you go to 0, you can roll death saves, so it's a chance to stabilize yourself. So instead of dying, you're just unconscious. Well, he failed all 3 strikes you're out, and he's just it's been a joke now for 10 years that he just died face down in the mud. And it was that is just too funny to be you rolled over or whatever, but it's just done. And then just bubbles. You see the bubbles coming up from the mud.
So
you have to think is it satisfying, right? No, there's always a way.
Yeah,
a lot of
if the player is if the player is I'm kind of tired of this class and this, I have another idea for a character. I'm cool. It's fine. Just don't tell everybody. Don't be you guys don't have to worry about it. Just don't resurrect him. Yeah. His story's over. Face down in the mud.
I'll make a new one.
Move on. I'll find someone else. I should get that on a T-shirt.
That's a motivational poster if I saw one. It's okay. You can leave them face down in the mud.
A dwarf, just face down in mud. It's like the hang in there kitty, but it's
that feels aspirational to me. I'm just saying. But
I love that. I love that story. That one always makes me laugh.
I don't think I explained 4Gs. Okay, so.
Do you want to? Do you actually want to?
Okay. I feel like I have to.
Okay.
I couldn't make every single session, and so Michael was very cool about letting me drop in and drop out and drop in and drop out. And I think there was an extended period of time where I couldn't make it, and then I all of a sudden could. And we sort of narratively said that Tim had just wandered off into the woods, and he came back wearing only a cloak that if he just stood in just the right way, you could see his dick. If it was just in the wind was just the right way, you could see his penis. That was the whole bit. I remember Michael's wife did not care for that joke.
It always devolves into dick jokes. It doesn't matter.
And so,
doesn't matter where you're from, your background, everyone will get the dick joke.
I can't help it, Michael. I can't help it.
Can I join? Can I join? Can I join D&D as a Balchinian?
You absolutely can. That's what's great about it. That's what's beautiful about Dungeons and Dragons. And so one of the times I came back, I decided that his cloak was dirty because he had been off in the forest orgies, the 4Gs. And I just kept saying, because I thought 4Gs was funny. I just kept saying that the entire session. And so I got Michael asked, hey, I need a new cloak. The old one is dirty. And he was very cool about giving me a cloak that would allow me to turn into a dragon. And he made me roll for it. And because I have the Will Wheaton dice curse, I rolled badly. And so I went to use it in the battle. And I turned into a red dragon and nearly killed the whole party. And then Jordan nearly ended the world. And that was how that campaign ended.
I believe I did end the world. I unleashed my demon upon the world,
right,
and
I wasn't sure if we had avoided it or not.
In covert as well. Like nobody saw it coming.
No, none of us saw it coming. But yes, he had crafted such a believable and fun world that I love that character, and I moved him on to. Actually, no. Tim, since you mentioned Dungeons and Dragons in the 1980s, Michael and Tim, have you heard of the 1980s Dungeons and Dragons cartoon animated show?
No.
Yes. Okay.
I have.
You have. Well, Tim, it's Michael. Would you like to describe the premise of the cartoon, if you remember it?
I don't remember watching it. I know of it, but I know it's like cheesy 80s comedy D&D show with a bunch of kids in a world and a weird creepy guy called Dungeon Master.
Yeah. So it's they get trapped in a Dungeons and Dragons dark ride, and they get teleported to one of the Dungeons and Dragons worlds, and they run into a character called Dungeon Master who turns them into like each of the classes. So there's one he's a spellcaster or a wizard, I think. One of the kids is a barbarian. There's an acrobat. And it's very much like when I'm watching it, it's very much like I could tell it's like original Dungeons and Dragons, like Gen 1, like this is the original rule set. And it's one of the thing that made me realize, wow, the Beholders are really like old school Dungeons and Dragons, like monster.
I remember watching this. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's a dungeon. Yeah.
So you do know it.
Okay. Yeah, it's a Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, it's one of those 1980s. It ran in syndication, so it has no pilot. It has no intro episode. Every episode runs so it can just run like in the Thursday afternoon. So like the intro to the show is the opening theme song. So if you don't watch the opening, like the opening credits, and are otherwise unfamiliar with Dungeons and Dragons, I could see how you would have no idea. The only thing is, the second episode they fight a beholder, and I was like, oh, I know of this because of the Critical Role mishap. I'm familiar with. It actually pops up in a lot of the Dungeons and Dragons things we're now going to talk about, which I guess I'll do them in chronological order. So that the 1980s show. Have any of you seen the 2000s Dungeons and Dragons movie with what's his face? Jeremy Irons, the bad one.
I don't think so.
No, Michael, man, you're normally Jordan's the one who's I've seen this, and the guest is like I have not seen this, but that's okay.
No, I don't think I've seen this one.
I have a lot of questions for you.
It's been a while.
Okay, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you about some of them more.
It's been a while.
I know one fact. I apologize if you know this fact that has stuck with me since.
Okay.
I saw it in an interview years ago.
Okay, go with your fact, and then I'll ask you my question based on your probably bigger knowledge of Dungeons and Dragons than me.
One weird fact about Jeremy Irons about that movie: he only did it to pay for a castle. That's my only knowledge about that movie.
I do know that. Yeah. He needed to pay for a castle.
I'm sorry. To pay for a castle?
Yeah.
Yeah, he bought a castle, and he's like, I needed to pay for it, so he did the movie.
Incredible. Hey, look, man, he's giving us 110%. Like,
I need a castle.
Yeah, he really wanted the castle, and he shows up. Of the things wrong with that movie, he is not one of them. Like, he's having a great time. But no, okay, my question is there a spell in Dungeons & Dragons where you have tentacles that come out of your ears that help you read minds?
Read minds? No, I don't think so. But I'm sure there had ears. there was a spell that was like turn sticks to snakes, for God's sakes.
I mean, okay, fair enough.
I mean, there's a lot of weird spells.
It's
probably.
Okay. I got a question then. Is there like a higher DM that a community that like governs this whole D&D that you have to follow like guidelines and rules and regs and stuff like that, or it's just based off the dungeon master and the community that he brings in?
Yes and no. So there is something called Adventure League where they follow the rules pretty much to a T, and they usually do that at like hobby shops.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's like I could do whatever I want. I could change whatever spell I want. I could make whatever. Anything I say goes.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the old pirate code from Pirates of the Caribbean, where it's like they're more guidelines than actual rules. The DM is ultimately the pirate lord who decides all the rules, but they're more guidelines. Like you can have home base rules where like custom classes can be creative specifically for Michael's world, for example, depending on his discretion.
Yeah, like I don't know if you're familiar with if you're familiar with The Witcher. Michael let Jordan build the main character. I can't remember his name, but the main character from The Witcher, Geralt of Rivia. He basically let Jordan create that character in one of their campaigns.
Blood Hunter.
One of my personal favorites of Jordan's is the Batman.
I believe that character is still in Schrodinger's box. He is technically still both alive and dead because we never went back to that session.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to be, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so to this day, if we ever went back to that game, we would have to ultimately figure out if he was alive or dead.
So if I wanted to have a character that threw flaming drumsticks,
I mean,
then you have to like roll, like you have to tell the person what you have to do in order for you to get that or not, right? Because that's what the dice are for, right?
Yes, right? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, he determines how high the value. Basically, tasks are determined based on a value that he determines based on like an in-universe. So, like, let's say there's a really flimsy wood door. Michael might be like, it takes a 5 to kick in this really flimsy wood door. So if you want to be like, I want to kick this door in, it's not going to take much effort, right? So he rates it lower. That's kind of the concept.
Whereas if you're going against like a solid steel door with a lock and a bolt on the other side, that's going to be like a 40 to kick through, and it's going to be basically impossible. Not impossible.
Yeah.
You might be able to do it, but it's going to be really difficult.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. That's what's fun about it. And it's at his discretion, and it's really fun.
And so where I devolve the enjoyment from is or at least part of where I devolve enjoyment from is I like the challenge of trying to think through these situations in an out of the box kind of way, where it's like, yeah, sure, you could go knock on that door and see if someone answers and like go from there, or you could try and find like the secret back door where you can pick the lock, sneak in, and nobody sees you coming, and you can surprise them and do like X, Y, and Z thing.
Yeah.
Like that's just as fun to me as kicking in the door.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Really, I like the fact of thinking out of the box because that's how I am.
It rewards that. It doesn't punish, and especially like Michael was always really cool of like, hey man, as long as you can justify it, we can make it happen.
Yeah.
That's such the hard part too. Is like when you have it. Oh, look at the
puppy. We have another guest.
Like,
this is Cookie.
Hello,
Hi, Cookie.
Hi, Cookie. Looks like you just picked him up and was like, I was asleep. What are you doing?
she came. So she'll give me an audible sound like if something is going to start with me. And I noticed that she was a puppy, and that's what she was doing. She came over, and so
y'all good?
So I'm good.
Okay, okay, cool.
But that's she came like right out of, I guess she sensed how dogs sense things, so she was laying right next to me. So that's what we're best friends, huh?
That's great. And that means I can now tag this cute dog video. That's awesome. Sorry. So well, I don't know what comes next. What comes next chronologically? Baldur's Gate 3 or the Chris Pine movie?
I think the Chris Pine movie would come next, and then
movie.
maybe
Like what came first and
chronological
like
order.
literally like by
Yeah,
years?
by year.
Baldur's Gate 3.
Baldur's Gate 3 came out before Chris
Fair.
Pine? Oh, okay. Well,
It was
Michael
only because it was in early access for
for like ever.
like
Oh, okay.
6, 7,
Fair.
20, 30 years.
Okay, we'll do Baldur's Gate 3. Have you played Baldur's Gate 3, Michael?
Yes.
This feels like a very dumb question, but we both recently started playing it again, and we're gonna gush about this game for a bit because man, it really made me like appreciate Dungeons and Dragons so much more than I had going into it. It was really like it's what got me into like going back to watch Critical Role was playing that game, and it's like, oh yeah, I just appreciate all this stuff, and now going back, it's had this feedback loop of now I'm replaying it as a bard. I'm like, oh, I'm so much more strategic this time because I know what I'm doing, and like but at the same time, it's definitely Dungeons and Dragons with guardrails on.
That's definitely.
That's kind of what we kind of came to the conclusion where we're like, it's like, it's Dungeons and Dragons, but not really.
it's D&D light. It gives me the fix of D&D but it's not the same. Like you don't.
Yeah.
Maybe if I played like with friends because I know that you can, but I never have. Maybe then it would feel more like actual D&D, but being able to control all the party members and have them do exactly what I want is definitely not what D&D is like.
I mean,
it kind of removes that chaotic, like, okay, well, Justin goes and breaks someone's arm while I'm trying to have the conversation with them, and it's like, dang it, Justin, I was trying to peacefully negotiate with this shopkeeper, and you broke his arms. Why did you do that?
That is also my favorite when I talk about D&D. My favorite D&D moments was when it was one of our second or third campaign, and I basically created Deadpool. It was like a fighter that was a part angel, but it was me, and me was being Deadpool, and I was interrogating a cultist, and I was like, if she doesn't tell me what I want to know, tell her I'm going to break her arm. Roll low. She doesn't tell you what you want to know. Okay, I break her arm. Okay, she's not very strong, so it's not going to be much to break her arm, yet you break her arm. How does she respond to having her arm broken? She punches you in the groin. And she punches you in the groin so hard that you go down. And then I went down, and I remember, I think I saved 2 out of 3 saving death throws. So I like nearly died from a dick punch. I never forgot that.
There's a lot of funny stories. I remember when I think we were trying to sneak on a boat, and I don't remember. I think it was it might have been Justin. I don't remember who it was, but somebody threw something from the crowd and ended up getting arrested. And then it ended up being this heist thing where we were trying to break into the prison to break them out because they screwed us over by failing on their stealth roll and got themselves caught like an idiot. And it was so funny. So many funny stories.
I remember that. I don't remember who did that. I do remember that.
I don't remember who it was. I just remember someone throwing. So I think. Oh no! I don't specifically remember, but that's one of the funny ones.
I remember that because I remember they made the throw to the roll to like convince people that she should be doing it or they should be doing it. And then I remember, they failed the subsequent roll, which is what got them caught, and I remember having to bust them out.
But I've had a few DMs, and Michael was definitely the best of them. Another group that I played with, there was like 3 other players, and they kind of cycled between who would DM depending on the week. I never did because I'm not right for that position. But they would switch off, and it just they were never as good. Like one of the things that Michael was it's been a while since he's DM'd, I think he said, but I still consider him my DM. One of the things that he is really good about is if, for example, I was a rogue and Justin was a fighter, Michael would present me as a rogue plenty of situations where I could be sneaky and get to be a rogue. Whereas when I played with this other group, they were all like melee-based characters, and I was a rogue, a stealthy character. But the way they DM'd, I never got a chance to be a rogue. So it was like I was always this weak little guy with a dagger who was going into a fight, who couldn't really do any of the things that made a rogue good because the DM never presented, like in that situation, never presented me with the option to be a rogue. And so I was just this like undervalued character who couldn't do any of the cool things, and it made it very frustrating. Whereas Michael's always better.
I think this is why I like DMing. Oh,
I'm just gonna run to the bathroom.
Oh, sorry, by all means.
I'll be right back.
Go ahead, Michael.
I think this is why I like DMing so much. And it's kind of like, it's in a weird way, it's like why I like being a personal trainer is every time you sit down at the table or you meet someone for training, it's like you're a puzzle to solve. So for D&D, it's like, okay, my puzzle and my enjoyment out of the game is how do I make sure you feel good as a player for all the choices, from all the dozens of choices you make in the book. Mm-hmm. Like you could be a paladin or a rogue or a bard. It's like, okay, well, clearly if you want to be a rogue, let's say, Jordan, it's like clearly you want to sneak around like friggin' Ezio from Assassin's Creed. Like there's just, or Ninja, like there's just something about that you really, really like. Same thing with fitness is like, okay, what's wrong with this person? Okay, so their back hurts. So we got to figure that out. So it's always making small adjustments. And it's the same way with D&D. It's like, okay, you're a rogue. At some point, you're going to want to pick a lock. At some point, you want to stab someone in the back from the shadows. Yeah. It's like, how do I fit that into this, let's say, workout program as the story? Like, I don't know. But I've gotten to a point where it's kind of natural for me now, where I'm like, oh, yeah, you're a rogue. I'll just put, like, you know what to do. I know what to do. There's a locked door over there. Have fun. Like, I don't want to. I don't want to deny you, right? Like, it's so hard to deny someone.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it should be. Yeah.
I agree. That's definitely how it should be, and that's where I say that's what makes you a good DM is the fact that you can just instinctively recognize and see those things and those opportunity or present those opportunities. Not every DM is like that. I can definitely say that from experience.
Now, I hate to bash on them, but like this is why I don't like Critical Role, is they're kind of showing a very unique side of what's not possible for D&D. Like it's not a stage show. Like I'm not here to do that. Like I'm not comfortable with silly voices. I'll do them sometimes, but not everybody's comfortable talking like that in character, and nobody is, maybe except for a few people, are actors. Like no one acts like that. Some people are just very comfortable being like, I want to persuade this person, instead of being like, go into detail. It's like, well, just kind of tell me the gist of what you want to say, and then we'll let the dice decide. And if you start to get more comfortable and open up, then we'll talk it through. Yeah. But I think, honestly, Critical Role has done as much positive. I think they've done as much disservice to like how you play the game. Not properly, because there's no one right way to play the game, but I've had somewhat of a fear of running into people who are like, well, you're not like Matthew Mercer.
Oh, interesting.
It's like, I know. Like, I know I'm not.
I mean, and the thing though is that I'm gonna put words in this man that I don't know's mouth, but I'm sure that he would be like, no, you're not me, and you shouldn't be me. You're your own person, and you run your game your own way, and that's fine. And the reason why I listen to Critical Role when I'm at work, and I'm on campaign 3 now, so I've listened to quite a many hour of the various different stories that they've done, and I because I'm not watching it, like I'm not seeing all the models and stuff and the maps that they use, and so it's literally for me. It's welcome back, Tim. For me, it's really just a story, and so I kind of at a certain point had to stop, because you're right. There's a lot of things where, like, a lot of situations that they get into on that show where it's like, for example, with Sam Riegel, he fails just a little bit too often for me to believe that it's always true. I think sometimes he does it for comedic effect, or to move the story along in a particular way. And so I kind of, at a certain point, I view Critical Role less like a Dungeons and Dragons game and more like a choose your own adventure story, where it's like they have an overarching story that they're looking to tell, and the only thing that really is actually a variable is like the certain, like, okay, this is the point where it could go this way or it could go that way. They're ultimately going to that final point, but like how they get there along the way is up for like change and variables.
So okay, so with that, Michael, that gives me a question, I should say, for Tim, who's not terribly familiar with this. What would you say is a better entry point to like Dungeons and Dragons, even just mechanically, playing Baldur's Gate or watching something like Critical Role? Or even, or like finding friends and just joining a Dungeons and Dragons group. What is the best way to approach this game if you don't fully understand it?
Trying it. Don't.
Are you asking me or Mike?
Michael.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're asking Michael how someone, an entry-level person such as yourself, could approach what to some feels like a very unapproachable game.
And then we'll go to you, Tim, because I am curious. what your perspective is.
Yeah, I'm curious about Tim, because if he's never played it, like, that's actually a good question.
Yeah, so Tim, I'll present you with the options. So there is a YouTube show called Critical Role, where it's a bunch of like voice actors who they're friends and they get together and they play Dungeons and Dragons and they have characters, and it's you're literally watching a session that they do. It's like a 4-hour session, and it's very fun, and they all provide very like colorful characteristics to the characters, and they do fun voices, and Matthew Mercer is very talented, and it honestly you get kind of emotionally invested in it. It's very strange, but it is quite entertaining.
But it is a show. But it is a show. You know.
Yeah, and it does help you understand.
It's a show run by professionals.
Yeah, and it does help you understand like how to play the game, because they do go through how to play the game a little bit. Like I found like 40 episodes into it that I understand Dungeons and Dragons better now than I ever have. But maybe Michael will disagree with me that he might not find that it's a good way to learn how to play Dungeons and Dragons. And then there is a video game called Baldur's Gate 3, which takes place in the Dungeons and Dragons world and has a lot of the same mechanics, spells, and abilities, but it's not obviously like quite the same as actual Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know.
It's not as freeform as actual Dungeons and Dragons is. It is very much more on a guided set of, because you're talking the difference between a programmed game, which can literally only have so many options of what you can do in a situation, versus you sitting at a table and theater of the minding like a scenario and being like, anything you can think of, you could theoretically do. In a video game, how do you program that?
Yeah.
Right? Like there you can't, like, for example, one of the spells in actual D&D is a spell called Wish, where you can literally just make a wish. You can't how do you program that into a video game, right? Like to be able to program a spell where you can literally be like, I wish that I had 3 arms. Wow.
Well, you would just take Wish and make it a MacGuffin. Be like, you need to take this wish spell, and you need to wish for XYZ. Like you just like that's your wish spell.
Yeah,
exactly. And so it's just, but it's not going to be the same as it is in the tabletop version.
No. I mean, I had a lot of fun with that game, but there were a lot of moments where I was like, this would be so much easier in regular D&D, where I was like...
Well, yeah, especially because in regular D&D, you're also dealing with a person. So, like, instead of dealing with a fixed computer, which has a fixed amount of variables, I'm working with Michael and could be like, okay, so here's what I'm thinking. This is kind of what, and then Michael could be like, okay, well, I have all this information behind the scenes. Maybe this is how, maybe instead of this, you could try this, and this would make it work. You know, like, you're dealing with a person who can kind of help you facilitate the cool thing that you want to do.
Pretty much, yeah, exactly. Whereas Baldur's Gate is like it's a fun game, but yeah, anyone who's like, oh, this is D&D, I'm like, it's D&D light.
It's D&D light is how I would describe it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Again, I'll go back to Michael. Is that a good entry point into this, or obviously, I guess you would say the better entry point is to just show up to one of your sessions?
Yeah, just go. Like, I would rather just be like, hey, 4 or 5 friends, I want to play this game. I don't know, just all the rules are online for free. You don't even have to pay for anything. You just
Yeah,
Can you
that's
look up
show
a
what's
up?
cool
Can
about
you
PDF.
it.
show up as one person?
You need a, you
Yeah,
need
yeah.
a, can you? You can.
Yeah, so the idea of D&D, I think what Gary Gygax wanted was like they started playing war games where they had like all the soldiers and like you have your whole hundreds of people. But he liked the idea of like that one person that's like what's Tim's, like what's his story? And so they just
Mhm.
laser focus on him, pluck
Interesting.
him out, that one soldier, and then you just follow Tim along his story.
Interesting.
And
Interesting.
that's the same thing with D&D. You just like, I have an idea for a character, like a bard who is like, little rock and roll kind of guy, wants to throw flaming drumsticks at people.
Interesting.
Like, let's take him on some adventures. Like, what got him out and about to he wants to make money.
Huh.
Like, that's kind of how I like to see D&D, is like you're just there to make your money. Gold, you just want
You
gold.
just want
Really.
gold.
And then the story goes from there.
And stuff. Sometimes it's stuff.
I mean, I
Gold and
remember.
gold.
So my
I
story can
remember.
involve. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I remember one of my last characters that I made. He was a vigilante tiefling who used a bat and broke
He was the
broke villains'
Batman.
legs, and he was the Batman.
I was so
Like,
proud of that. I
the
was so proud
the
of that.
Bat Dash Man. Like,
Batman.
The Batman. I was so proud of that.
Batman.
But sorry, Tim. You were gonna say something.
yeah, you were gonna say something.
Oh no, it's all good. So I could join, and then I could like eventually hold concerts with other players in the game.
I mean, theoretically, yeah.
Yeah.
You get a bunch of bards together. Yeah, you could be a bard.
Actually, I have a story idea for every player is a bard, and you guys are. So the idea is like you're bards, but you're kind of thieves as well. So you put on concerts, and then you got to steal something that's like part of
that's
the whole
really,
thing.
That's really cool.
That's awesome.
That
I would
sounds
want to be a
awesome.
bar. I would want to be a barbarian. So a multi-class barbarian who uses his guitar and just beats the crap out of people.
Yep.
That sounds fun. Yeah, that sounds fun. That's interesting.
Like,
Bang.
and I walk around with the gong and smack people over the head with the gong.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like a
Awesome.
shield, right? You just
Yeah.
on your
Yeah.
back. Just-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
even better. The guitar is an axe, so like it's just strung along
literally
like an axe. Yeah.
Okay.
I love D&D.
D&D Dungeons and Dragons, the 2017 Chris Pine movie.
I watched that one.
I watched that recently. What did you think, Michael? Because I assume you saw that movie. What did you think of that movie, Michael?
It was good. I wish they went a little harder, like with a little more R-rated.
Interesting.
Personally.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
you must prefer the Vox Machina show then, because that is a little bloody.
Yeah, they go a little. The Amazon show, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, they go a little
Yeah.
harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna get in trouble. I wish they put that dark elf in the movie instead of the paladin guy, because their
Interesting.
whole plan was to have a character named Dritz,
Yeah.
Deward and whatever, and then they changed it pretty much last minute
Interesting.
for because they didn't want to paint someone darker skin.
Okay.
Oh.
Fair. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I can see why you said I'm going to get in trouble. That is fair.
Yeah.
That is fair. Yeah. That is. I could see the instinct to not do that. That's probably a good one.
Well, like he's such a beloved character. It is a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah. Ooh.
So with the Chris Pine, not Chris Prine. With that one, well, that's what I was going to say. I started to say that, and then I mixed it anyway. So as I was watching, I rewatched it last night, and I'm seeing Chris Pine, with the loot, and I said to Justin when he came out at one point, I'm like, so in this movie, I know that you're probably supposed to think that he's the bard, right? But he's definitely just the rogue who's masquerading as a bard, right? Like, he doesn't actually really seem to use any magic like a bard would.
He's very bard-like, though.
He just has a lute. but he's also a thief and steals things and is a criminal like a rogue would be. So I think like being the bard is his cover, so you don't suspect him when he steals your coin purse. That's my headcanon now.
Yeah, I mean that checks out. Yeah, I mean you're right. He doesn't use any magic in the movie like at all.
No, doesn't.
No, he does not. Another fun fact about that movie: the scene with the maze. All the characters that you see that are not the characters from the movie are the characters from the 1980s animated cartoon. So there's the barbarian. You see him. You see you see all of them, and they all die in various gruesome ways. They are from the 1980s. And the
got the guy with the yellow arrow.
Yeah. Yep, they got all of them, and they all die gruesomely. And
I love that movie especially because the first time I saw it in theater with Justin and a mutual friend of ours, there was so many moments where I was like, "Oh my god, I recognize that animal! Oh my god, I recognize that monster! Hey, that looks like Misty's step! Like I use that spell! Like there's so many cool moments like that. Yeah. And the geeky nerdy geek in me is just like.
Also, I believe there's another beholder in this movie at some point. Beholder shows up. I think. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think so. I don't think in this one there is.
No. I don't think there's no beholder.
Oh, but yeah, that movie's good.
I watched it last night, and I feel like I would remember that, so I'm going to say it probably isn't.
Yeah, I don't remember. I watched
There's definitely an owl bear.
Yeah,
I love the owl bear.
That's pretty sweet. But that's a fun movie.
Were you talking about a video game when you said, how do you do a wish? A wish spell?
Yeah. I was saying, in a video game.
Yeah, it's
nowadays that might be possible with AI.
It's just how it's the kind of spell. How it works in the game is it's real hypothetical. So it literally lets you do anything, and it's like, how do you? Yeah, I mean, maybe they could find a way, but it's like, how do you make it? So with
the advent of technology, I could see in a few years. Yeah, I could see in a few years you could implement that more success. But when it came out, like when it was released, we weren't quite there, and so there's just also a lot of because you can only get to level, I think it's 15 in the game, whereas in actual D&D it goes to level 20, and there's a lot of like the high end, like high level spells which just kind of break the world.
Yeah.
So if I play the game, I'll at least get a decent understanding as a beginner.
Oh, yeah.
I would say, it definitely gives you a good idea, a good frame of reference for what the game is like, or for what D&D is like. It's kind of baby's first D&D is how I would describe it.
Yeah, and even then it doesn't
works well.
Baby.
That's not even mentioning. I mean, it really does strip away the intermingling with other personalities part of it, because as much as you're playing characters in a world. These characters are backed by people who sometimes don't always see these characters as characters and just see them as a function of the game. And that's fine. That's a fine way to play the game. That's how I played the game at first. I have a sort of deeper appreciation for the character part of it now. But I definitely saw it by way of video game because that's the easiest way to understand a game. At least for me.
The other reason why the game is, in my opinion, is if you're really nervous about getting into actual D&D, why Baldur's Gate 3 is a good substitute is because it keeps track of some of the more complicated things, like keeping track of the numbers that you have to keep track of, like your armor class, your all your dexterity, strength, intelligence modifiers, like all of that. It keeps track of your proficiency modifier. If you're a druid, for example, you have to not only have your stats for your character, but the stats for any animal you might want to turn into. Whereas the game keeps track of that for you. It removes a lot of the more mathy kind of things that you have to keep track of.
Yeah, that's one of the things that makes me laugh. I think we'll wrap up Dungeons and Dragons stuff, but
we could talk about this all day.
I can talk about it all day. But one thing I will say that's funny about Dungeons and Dragons to me is you see a lot of stuff where it's moms from the 1980s being Dungeons and Dragons is people sitting in a circle praying to the devil or whatever,
worshiping the devil.
And it's really just a bunch of people sitting in a room doing math. Like that's really when you just get right down to it. That's what Dungeons and Dragons is. It's just math with flourish
and playing make believe
playing make believe. That is true.
And arguing with each other.
And arguing with each other. That is also
that
true.
that could be a very big part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I will say though, just sorry, not D&D. I had a chance to play. I'm a big Star Wars guy.
Oh, yeah.
The Fantasy Flight dice system has definitely become one of my like preferred gaming system because they call it storytelling dice.
Interesting.
So like you could do something like you could succeed, but you fail, which is really cool. So it's like you succeeded jumping over the chasm or whatever, but now you didn't really make it. You're like 3 feet down, hanging on for your life.
Oh, that's
reality.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a little dose of reality. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's
What's
pretty
that
cool.
Interesting.
What's it called? Sorry.
What's it called, Mike?
Oh, it's Star Wars, like Edge of the Empire. So I like Jedi, but I like the bounty hunters a lot more, and all the smugglers and all that. The more underworld is the way to put it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Jedi are kind of boring. We're gonna get to that. With that, we're gonna move into the main topic of today, the actual big part of it, which is fantasy. And I know like maybe your instinct is to go to like medieval fantasy, but it's not all medieval fantasy.
That's not where my mind went.
It's funny. It's funny that your mind went there. You're gonna
fantasy is actually a very broad.
I did not say where it went.
It's very broad. It turns out it's a very broad topic. So I always ask when we have people on. I ask them, Michael, did you get to watch any movies this week? A lot, a little.
Oh man, it's so hard with a baby, but
that's cool.
I finished. Yeah. It's interesting watching movies now with a baby.
Yeah.
When I had my first one, it was like baby, 6-month-old. Everything shut down, and so I had a lot of time.
Fair.
Now it's like I'm running back and forth to work, so I have to watch movies in like chunks.
Fair.
So I watched Pain and Gain. I know it's a weird. The Last Witch Hunter.
Oh, interesting.
That the Vin Diesel one.
Yeah.
Like I know it got torn apart by critics, but like it is so. It's just a fun movie for me.
Excellent.
Like just because I like the world building of it. I think that's my favorite part.
Excellent. Okay, cool. Okay, so we're going to do the first one. I mean, we picked stuff that I'm hoping is in your wheelhouse, which is just rapid fire. It's rapid fire thoughts. If Jordan or I have one or two things to say about it, that's pretty much it. If you guys have some thoughts on it, you'll let us know. So Jordan, you can go first. What is your first rapid fire, sir?
My first rapid fire is Gulliver's Travels with Jack Black.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
It's kind of like it's I mean it's a Jack Black film, so I always enjoy his movies. He's a big old silly goof.
Yeah, he is.
This was kind of in the height of that, but it's I don't know. I'm struggling for my words here.
Fun? Is it just fun?
Fun. It's a Jack Black version of the Gulliver Travel story.
It's exactly what you think it's going to be, basically.
Yeah, pretty much, he works in the mailroom. He's a big goof. He has the person, apprentice come in, or not apprentice, but person below him come in, who then pretty much immediately becomes the boss over top of him, and is kind of, in not so many words, like, yeah, you're a loser. and that's why you're always going to be in the mailroom, is because you've peaked. That's it for you. And so then Jack Black ends up going up to the girl that he likes' office and is like gonna make the steps to go and talk to her, and then chickens out and grabs a piece of paper and ends up becoming a travel reporter, kind of unintentionally, and ends up in the Bermuda Triangle and ends up on the island with all the little people, that he's now a giant, and Gulliver Travel story and all that. And,
Gulliver story, it happens.
it just sort of happens with Jack Black. and so you've got Jason, what's his name? Jason Segel is one of the little people. I think that's his name.
Yeah.
The dude from How I Met Your Mother.
Mhm.
And my favorite part is where two of the characters keep talking in like that old time language where they're like, we're talking like thiseth and thiseth and thiseth, and the one the king is like, we really must stop talking like that even in like private conversations. Let's just talk normally, because like why are we doing this really, and Gulliver has lied about where he's come from. He's like from the island of Manhattan. um and they end up building him a big house because they're really good at building. And he tells them the story of like Titanic and Star Wars and all that. And the one character is like, so wait, you died in Titanic, but you're still here. And Jack Black's, well, I got better, like I survived. And that doesn't make any sense. You died and then you're still it's silly. It's silly is what I'm saying. And it's funny. It's a silly movie, but it's funny.
All right.
And that's Gulliver's
funny
Travels.
because I was going to show you the picture I took with him.
Oh yeah.
With Jack Black?
No, Jason Segel.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty cool.
I was doing security in Ojai, California for this concert, and I saw him, and he's one of the very few that, like, wow, because he's so creative, he's so down to earth. And I asked his wife, I said, do you mind if I take a picture with your husband? He says, that's the first time anyone's ever asked my wife to do so. And he said, yeah. So I got a picture with him. Very, 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 very cool guy. Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
Cool. That's so cool. I have never disliked him in anything. I cannot think of a movie I have disliked him in. Honestly,
he's usually pretty good.
Yeah.
He's fallen off. I haven't seen him in anything lately.
No, I know. Yeah.
I can't remember the last thing.
He did a couple of R-rated comedies post How I Met Your Mother, but they didn't do super well. So, and then he did that Muppets movie that was pretty good. And
I like that one.
It was pretty good. That's
Forgetting Sarah Marshall was pretty good.
That was also
really good.
But like nobody was expecting that Muppets movie to be good, so then when it turned out to be pretty good, it was a genuine surprise. I remember that. I was one of those people. I cynically was like, the last few of these have been not very good.
Yeah, that one was actually pretty. I like that one.
They were in a weird place.
So what's your first rapid fire?
I kind of realized I don't have any. I just have
rapid fire.
Joe, what's your next one?
What's a rapid fire?
Rapid fire is part of the show where we're talking about ones. Generally, Justin and I watch about 5 each, where it's ones that we're not doing our deep dive like conversations on, and we're kind of just bouncing back and forth between. But he apparently dropped the ball on this one, and it's leaving it all on me.
Yeah, so that's my bad. They were all Dungeons and Dragons related. I apologize.
Are you talking about movies?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's got a few movies that he saw. And then we're gonna talk about Pain and Gain. It's all ramping up to us talking about Pain and Gain.
Don't
worry, Michael. We're gonna get to it.
We could just we could skip rapid fire if you want, Justin.
Sure. Yeah. You want to just bypass and
just jump. If you don't have any, then it's not really rapid fire. It's just me talking for way too long.
Fair. Okay, cool. That's fine. That's fine by me. Cool. Okay. So then, Michael, where to begin with Pain and Gain? I love that movie. I love that movie a lot. It's the only Michael Bay movie I like. I realized that this week. I think it's the only Michael Bay movie I like.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Sorry, Michael. Go ahead.
I noted something, like, I forgot that it was made by Michael Bay.
Really?
But as I was watching it, and I was like, this looks like Bad Boys 2. I was like, why am I watching Bad Boys 2? And I paused it, and I was like, am I watching Bad Boys? I was like, wait. And I went into the, like, who's directing it. And I was like, oh, it is Michael Bay. Like, he has such a distinct style. Absolutely. I'm just like, oh, yeah.
This movie's the reason why Mark Wahlberg was in Transformers. This is where they met. Like, that's why he did Transformers.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah. Because this comes out pre-Transformers, yeah. And, man, Mark Wahlberg is phenomenal in this movie. It's just an insane person. Like I don't know. There's like I feel like there's a term for it where what he is like the dumb guy who thinks he's smart. But
Arrogant.
And he's a narcissist. That much I can say. But I don't know what the term like. There's like an analogy for it. But yeah, he's just his whole thing is he's just this really dumb guy who thinks he's brilliant. And yeah, the whole time I was like, man, I just like I was trying to be like Michael. Are you Mark Wahlberg? Do you do what he does for a living? Is that your job?
That is 0% of what he does. Like, it's my job. Most of my job is listening to people talk about their problems, and then hopefully we get some fitness into the session.
So you're a therapist.
It really is. It is. You just like I don't tell anybody anybody's problems, right? Like,
yeah,
fair enough.
That's awesome.
Get it out.
I mean, I would say though Mark Wahlberg listened to that guy's problems enough to rob him and mutilate him, and nobody cared.
Yeah, I think where me and Marky Mark there like are different is that I care.
Yeah, fair. Yeah,
that's fair.
I'm not like I'm gonna steal this person's life. Like that seems really interesting. I had a weird thought, like because he makes him sign it all over. Why didn't the guy just be like, sure, whatever, here you go, and then just leave? Call his lawyer or his bank and be like, hey, this just happened. Don't let it go through.
Right?
Like,
well, because he was an asshole. That's the whole thing. Like that's the thing I liked about this movie. I liked how Michael Bay, he doesn't present any of them as good people. Like they're all equally bad people, and they're all awful. I mean, it's my favorite Rock movie. Like he's so.
I think it's
good.
his best performance.
It's easily his best performance. It's the only time I would say he was acting. It was like the one time he felt comfortable to not be himself, not be that crafted image of this perfect guy who contractually can't lose a fight. Like, that is a true fact, by the way. Like he was willing to be vulnerable. Like my favorite moment in that movie is at the end where after he's gotten to the whole thing where he's tried to rob the ATM or whatever, the bank, and he's got the tie bags and they've exploded all over his face. He's shot himself in the foot, and he shows up at Anthony Mackie's wedding, and he's like all strung out. And he's like, yeah, I fucked up, yeah, and it's just it's such a great moment. Like I'm like, oh my, he's acting there. Oh my god, my guy can act. Like that's why whenever anyone's like, The Rock is a bad actor, I'm like, no, he's just a lazy actor. Like he can do it if he wants to. He just doesn't want to.
Yeah, he's just The Rock. Like you put him in anything, and you're like, oh, The Rock's in it. It's not like like I think we talked a little while back. We're like, it's not him, and like you don't see Black Adam, you see The Rock.
You see The Rock.
Yeah,
exactly.
For better or worse.
But in this, he is this Paul guy. Like it's believable. It's a believable performance from The Rock, and that's really cool. Yeah. And the other thought I had was, and this might be sort of controversial topic, but my favorite bit or couple in that movie is Rebel Wilson and Anthony Mackie. I love them because the joke, it's not fat phobic. The joke is never about the fact that she's big. It's about the fact that he has a weird penis. And I because there was this whole thing about how she has this beef with Sacha Baron Cohen because when she was making that movie with him, he wanted her to do a joke and do a sex scene where the entire joke was about how she was fat. And she didn't like that, and she was like, she felt like violated by that. So, but in this, she has a sex scene with Anthony Mackie. So clearly, Michael Bay, the guy, it was really a thought I had. The guy who's been indicted for his sexism creates an atmosphere where she felt comfortable enough to do that. And the joke never, again, seems to be on her; it's on him. And I thought that was interesting. Again, for the guy who's like, yeah, Megan Fox washed my car for an audition. Like, I just thought that was kind of interesting. I think it's his best movie. I truly do. Because again, he never makes the case in the movie that Mark Wahlberg or any of those guys are good people. Like they're not people to aspire to. What they want is not something you want to like. He has the wrong idea of the American dream. Like characters just endlessly point out he's an idiot. Great.
Yeah, he can manipulate people really, really well.
Yeah.
But he's manipulated just as easily.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
It's actually interesting because like the movie's based in the early 90s, right? Like 95, 94,
I think so.
where he
Yeah.
goes to the airport. He goes to the airport and sees that like that guru,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
pre social media time where you don't see them every
Yeah.
day, where you flip it through and it's like, here's how to make $1 million real easily. It's like, no, like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like,
Interesting.
wow, like you hit the nail on the head before really those people kind of came around to be more popular,
Yeah. And just
right?
the idea, and this is obviously a question for you as a personal trainer. The whole thing of like you could be like me and be like big like me, and like with the hard work. That's a question that's going to come up later. Just so you know, that's bullshit, right? Like they're all Anthony Mackie. They're all doing steroids. Like you had mentioned that you're like you like identifying when it's just steroids. Like it's just
Oh,
steroids,
right,
right?
right. Yeah, I would assume that they don't mention anything else besides what, just steroids. Um, Everyone's different. Like, I could take steroids. I don't. Um, and it could not work. Like, I won't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I won't look like Mark Wahlberg. It's just my genetics won't allow it.
Yeah.
Like, whereas one of you could take it and then you could just get absolutely massive and swole, and it's like look crazy. Like, it's just everyone responds very differently to
Yeah.
everything.
And
Anthony
you know what's
Mackie.
crazy?
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Tim.
You know what's crazy with that is, and I don't know if you've seen this I don't know if you work at out of a gym or not, but when I was at World's Gym as a trainer, women were coming in to sell breast milk to the bodybuilders.
Okay, that was my
the
question.
growth.
That was my question. Oh my god, thank you for bringing that up, Tim. That's a bit. That is a bit in this movie. Anthony Mackie drinks breast milk. I was going to ask Michael, is that a thing? Thank you for that. Is a thing. That is a legit thing that happens in real life.
I think it was a thing. I've never seen it now. You can get stronger stuff off the internet and have it delivered to your
so
door.
fascinating.
Yeah, this was 2019, 2020 when I was working out of the gym.
Really?
Wow.
That's incredible. Because yeah, Anthony Mackie.
Racing?
Yeah, that's incredible. Because yeah, there's a scene in this movie where Anthony Mackie busts out the breast milk, and yeah, it's treated as a not normal thing. And I'm like, hey, Glass. Now here, who am I to judge? Cast judgment. Maybe it's perhaps not a weird thing, but it feels like a weird thing.
But you know what I think is are we crossing DNAs though? So if this lady has a history of X, Y, and Z in the family that's passed down the bloodline, if this bodybuilder is drinking her breast milk, is that DNA being processed over? I mean, I've had deep thoughts about that because if we saw it, we had to stop it. Obviously, they're making a trade inside the gym. So,
oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think it's just icky.
Yeah.
It's just like
I just think it's weird.
That's not what that stuff's for. It's for feeding babies, not big men. That's kind of odd.
I don't.
And Michael makes a good point. You can get a lot of things a lot stronger off the internet now.
I don't like to put people.
It's not worth it though.
I mean, certainly, this movie makes it seem not worth it. At every point, they describe Anthony Mackie's penis as being weird, and it really does seem to be implied that it's from the steroids. And I don't know, big arms don't seem worth it. They just don't seem worth it. Like I feel kind of bad making fun of him, but I worked with the guy who proudly came in and bragged that he was going to start taking steroids so he would get huge. And the first thing I made a crack about the tiny nuts, and I was like, it just doesn't seem worth it, man. I don't know, it just doesn't. It's just that sounds uncomfortable. Now he was committed. And he showed them to me. He was like, hey, look at my steroids.
Oh, I thought you meant his tiny nuts.
Yeah,
and I was going to be like, wow.
And then he showed me the tiny nuts. Yeah. That happened.
They can't get smaller.
Oh my god,
they can't get smaller.
Put them away, my gosh. Oh, goodness gracious.
Michael, do you remember about maybe 10, 15 years ago about the deer antler? The red velvet inside of the deer's antlers has the growth hormone. And I think there was a baseball player. It was the first time that he came up positive. They tested for that and found that growth hormone in his blood or urine, whatever they did the drug test. But yeah, people, it's a mist that you could put under your tongue and it's supposed to help you grow. And it's from the red velvet from the deer antlers. And I tell people, if you're not doing it natural, you're going to hurt yourself, right? I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's scary.
There are no shortcuts.
Yeah, you gotta do the hard work. That is that's my. I don't have Michael. Do you have anything else to say you'd like to say about Pain and Gain? Any fun anecdotes?
I like when The Rock was like.
Sorry?
I like when The Rock was grilling a hand.
That was
like
yeah.
He goes outside, and then I noticed like the movie pauses, and I looked. I was like, "What?" And then it said, "This is a real movie." Like this, like don't forget, this is like based on facts.
It's not. That's okay. If we want to talk about the based on a true, I hate it when things are saying like it's like if you watch Baby Reindeer, they're going through that too. Never say it is a true story. Always say it's based on a true story because like the guy, the victim, apparently sued the people who made the movie for like I can't remember what it was for. I can't remember if it was for making him look completely horrible, but it was it was
because he had a weird penis.
No, that's Anthony Mackie. No, that guy. They actually made him look nice in that movie. That's what's so funny. Apparently, in real life, the guy that Anthony Mackie plays was a total psycho and like he's completely crazy. And the movie makes him seem nice and like objective, but he's not. But yeah, no. Apparently, it's loosely based on real events. Like apparently, like the actual gang, there's like way more guys, and so it's like. Not actually a true story. My favorite bit with that movie is how it switches narrators 1,000 times. Like every time it's just another person just starts explaining another thing, but it's never boring. I don't know how else to describe it. Like it's just a really dynamic movie that I remember being longer. Like I remember it being 240, but it was only 206, and it feels like an hour 40. Like you're like, oh wow, it's almost over already. It's just like I guess it's because I the previous weeks I watched his Transformers movies. I watched all of them in a row in a short span of time, and that movie made me that.
Can you spell masochist?
That made me hate movies.
No.
So it was a bad time. It was not a good time. So like I just was like the man can't make good movies. So it was just kind of refreshing to watch a movie that was like genuinely good and was like, yeah, this actually feels like it is kind of smart, which for Michael Bay is kind of remarkable.
Yeah, that's not the word that I think of when I think of Michael Bay. Yeah, so that is impressive.
It's genuinely it's like one of the ones when I'm like, don't watch any of the Transformers movies. Okay, maybe watch the first one, but then don't watch the rest of them. Go watch Pain and Gain instead. It's a much better movie.
I think
at this point, it's just go watch Bumblebee.
Yeah, skip the rest. Yeah,
I think the best way to describe Michael Bay though is just like you just have to use Michael Bay. It's like what's Michael Bay's style? Michael Bay. He's and that's Michael the Bay. Only way you can describe him. It's like okay, I understand what he's like Zack Snyder.
That's what I was literally gonna say. It's like Zack Snyder. You have to be like it's Zack Snyder. It's just
he marches to the beat of his own drum,
for better or worse.
Yeah.
In this case, for better. I genuinely like. I full on. If you haven't seen it, full on recommend it. Very good. Especially like he's a crazy bodybuilders, crazy muscle head bodybuilders. Like that's a line they say at one point in this movie. It's phenomenal. It's genuinely really good.
I don't watch much movies, so with my head injury, I got about 10 years of just knowledge that's gone.
Fair.
I think the last movie I saw was when those aliens came and you had to be quiet.
Oh yeah.
Well, remember I forget what it was called, silent or whatever.
Keep quiet.
Quiet place.
Quiet place. Sorry, yeah. Yes, I've heard it's good.
Yeah, and so I don't even have a TV. So
I mean, hey man,
that's not inherently a bad thing. Some people.
More time for drumming.
The argument could be made that TV rots your brain. So
I mean, it's all that's on my brain. But it's fun to talk
I have
about.
nothing against it. Now that I'm doing music and everything, I don't want to spend idle time. Now, don't get me wrong. When I go to bed, it's Family Guy on my phone. Right?
Good on you. Good on you.
Yeah,
good on you.
Right. But I just don't have time to sit, especially now. I don't have time to watch movies, and I wish I did. I've just never been a movie buff. I mean, my favorite movie is Forrest Gump, but that's about it.
That's also a good movie. You've got good taste for what it's worth.
Well, here's a funny fact about Forrest Gump. I lived in Denmark for 10 years when I got out of the service.
Okay.
Right.
what I realized was people overseas don't get the movie.
Really?
Because it's all based on American stuff. The smiley face, oh God, I can't even remember. But everything that's happening in his life, they just don't get it's the American style. They don't get the movie over there.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting. That was one that in a previous episode I talked about that one.
Yeah.
But it's definitely interesting watching it as a Canadian versus as an American, I imagine, because there's definitely certain things where it's like I just don't relate to certain parts of it. But
they were like at the end, like, what happened? What did she die of? What does she have?
Oh, interesting. Whereas I'm like,
but as an American,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I knew what that was immediately.
Exactly. So.
Interesting. That's very, but that you do find that some things just don't translate across seas. They find that, and vice versa. Sometimes
I was just gonna say vice versa. There's been stuff where like we watched, we had a Japanese a couple episodes that we did where there was just certain things that they have in their shows where I'm like, I just don't. This I don't get it. It doesn't mean anything to me.
There's a lot of social structures. It's just different. They're what they find to be rude and not rude, and that was sort of a mark on that episode of like, is there a part like there's moments where I was like, I don't relate to this as a Canadian. Interesting, but then that's also I appreciate that because then you learn that new thing that you're like, oh well, that's how they deal with that situation socially. So you learn thing. That's why I like watching movies from other countries.
One of my favorite things from Canada is your bacon.
I mean, also, you have good taste.
I mean, it is pretty good.
Back bacon.
The back bacon,
back bacon. It's just a loin, right? Like it's just the loin of the pig.
Yeah.
I mean,
I used to be a butcher. So.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it tastes good.
Canadian, whatever that means.
Yeah, it has that extra. It's like maple syrup. You think Canada. All right.
I mean, that's like whenever I'm on Twitch talking to American people, and they're like, "What's your favorite kind of chip?" And I'm like, "Ketchup chip," and they're always like, "What?
What's a ketchup chip?" yeah.
And it's like, and I'm always like, "Oh yeah, I always forget that's a Canadian thing."
Yeah, I think.
But
also,
it's good.
I think also American.
What is it?
It's
a type of chip where basically it's like you take a potato and you have powdered ketchup on it.
Yeah, potato
ketchup. I put ketchup on my chips.
Yeah, that's where whenever people are like, that's so weird, I'm like, it's really not. Like you have French fries with ketchup.
Yeah,
that's potatoes and ketchup. Like
it's weird when you hear it, but once you have it. I don't know. I've seen videos of Americans trying it where they're like, it's weird, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because
I don't think it's that weird.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's part of our life.
It's just always been a thing.
Yeah. All right, Jordan. What's your first one you had seen?
My first one that I have seen in the past is Night at the Museum with Ben Stein.
See, it's funny because first thing we went to. By the way,
Ben Stiller, not Ben Stein.
By the way, the fantasy. I say fantasy. Pain and gain, male fantasy. You want to look like The Rock. That's the fantasy. It's not a real fantasy. He's doing steroids. There, I justified it. Now we move on to Night at the Museum. Because we sort of found that fantasy is kind of a broad category.
Fantasy is a broad category. And when you actually look up the definition of it up on Google, it can count anything from like a mythological story to like knights and dragons to a storybook to superheroes are technically fantasy because that's not real. Mm-hmm. It's a very broad subject, and I took advantage of that. We're gonna miss out on some of the more crazy ones because we're not doing rapid fire. But Night at the Museum, Ben Stiller's character gets a job at the museum. Tablet brings all the exhibits to life at nighttime. And he has to kind of figure out how to do his job of reining them in.
That was fun.
It's fun. It's got Robert Williams in it. Robin Williams in it, not Robert. I'm just screwing up all the names today. Sir Robin Williams, yeah. He's in it, and he's one of my favorite actors, so that's always a good time. And it's it's candy. You know, there's not a whole bunch of substance to it, but it's fun.
Those movies are fun. I really
like it.
Directed by Sean Levy, who's about to do Deadpool, and that's fun. I really like his style. I like his direction, and those movies are fun. They're all fun until the third one, where it's kind of
a mall cop. It has a mall cop type of feel to it, I think.
Yeah.
In a good way. In a good way.
Yeah, in a good way. Yeah.
And I mean, clearly it did well because it got 2 sequels.
Yeah, they made 2 sequels.
And an animated show, I think.
Movie. I haven't seen it. It looked bad.
Animated movie. I haven't seen it. Yeah, that looked bad. I couldn't bring myself to. Maybe I'll do sequels again one day, and I'll find an excuse to do it for this.
Well, the third one implied that, ironically, that Rebel Wilson was going to do it. She was going to be the main character, and they're going to spin it off with her, and then they never did because I don't think the third one did super well. And I think.
I mean, I was going to say clearly because that idea just didn't take off. I thought she was kind of the worst part of the third one.
Also, I think it was when that third one came out. It was around the time, either shortly before or shortly after he died.
Robin Williams.
Yeah, Robin Williams died.
Yeah,
and it was sort of like, without him.
It was kind of attributed like that movie. There was a lot of people who were going around being like, "There's a scene in it which is basically him saying goodbye."
Yeah, I remember that.
Which is very, very true, and that it does come across like the actor himself is saying goodbye to everybody, and it made it kind of a bummer. Yeah. It attached this kind of very real world sadness to that movie.
That's what I remember about the third one. It's just sad. I remember it being sad.
Which I think it's kind of become that movie's legacy, quite frankly.
It's sad, and then there's that weird scene with Hugh Jackman for some reason. Those are like the 2 things I remember about that movie.
That scene's funny though.
Yeah, but it's very weird. There's a scene in that movie where they just burst into a Shakespeare play or like some form of a Shakespearean play that Hugh Jackman is doing.
Well, it's Camelot. They're doing Camelot.
Oh yeah, they're doing Camelot.
And I believe he's because Lancelot goes there and he's playing King Arthur.
Right.
And so Lancelot is like screwing up the thing, and he's like, "You want to fight? All right, fine." He's like, he does it like the Wolverine scream, and the one character's like, What are you doing? And she's like, he's doing his Wolverine thing. Like, it's supposed to be intimidating. Ignore him.
It's funny. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, those movies are fun. Jordan, do you have anything further to say about Night at the... Does anyone have anything they want to say about Night at the Museum?
I like it.
It's fun. Michael, have you seen Night at the Museum? Yeah, it's really fun. Dick Van Dyke? Dick Van Dyke's in the first one, right?
Dick Van Dyke is definitely in it.
Dick Van Dyke.
Which is funny.
Mickey Rourke, I think.
It has... Hold on, I can tell you.
I'm trying to think who the old guys were. It was Dick Van Dyke, Mickey Rourke, and I don't remember who the third one was.
Dick Van Dyke, Mickey Rooney, and Bill Cobbs.
Not Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rooney, yeah. And who, sorry?
Bill Cobbs.
Oh, okay. Yeah. They're very fun. They're very fun in that movie.
They are.
Yeah.
It's funny, actually, because for the longest time, I didn't know that was Dick Van Dyke. It was only like when I did whatchamacallit, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and all those other ones, and I looked at his filmography and I saw Night at the Museum, that I was like, oh my god, that was Dick Van Dyke. How did I just figure this out? I was very, very, very ashamed of myself. But no, yeah, that's all I have to say about Night at the Museum. What's your next pick, Justin?
Actually, Michael, what was your other movie? Because you've seen your other one, right? Or had you not seen it before?
The Last Witch Hunter.
Had you seen that previously, or is that fresh for you?
I went to the theaters to go see that one.
Okay,
and I've seen it.
We'll do you. Tell me. I have not. I know. I think I have seen it, but it was one of those. I was playing video games while I had it on, kind of times. So I don't remember it.
Right.
I do know that he ironically, Critical Role again. He did a guest episode with them where they made him like a custom D&D character, which I think that was how Jordan wound up with his, if I'm not mistaken. Or did you come up with yours fresh?
I honestly don't remember. That was a while ago. I think we got the character sheet from that. I think that's where I got that.
Okay.
Like the information packet.
Okay.
I seem to remember them having like a link in the description of the video where they had like the the build for the character.
Oh, okay.
And
So
I
it's the Vin Diesel version of a witch hunter, not the Geralt Rivera version. Then.
I'm not. I don't remember well enough to empirically say one way or the other, but I want to say yes.
Because yeah, I remember this movie. I don't. I remember moments from it that were like, oh, this is cool. It's like any Vin Diesel movie, I think, where it's like moments of this feel cool, removed from the rest of it.
Yeah. Basically, what's the term TLDR?
Yeah.
Like, too long
too long didn't read.
It's like, so he plays an immortal Viking knight kind of guy who was cursed with immortality.
I don't remember.
And he works with a church to basically keep all the witches in the world like at bay, like just to make sure magic doesn't get all crazy and things like that. And Michael Caine's in the movie. I was very surprised at that. Huh. Yeah, he is. He's his like handler kind of deal. He's his, like his Q. And then he like retires, and then it's Frodo. What's the Elijah Wood? Elijah Wood becomes his new little handler.
I've seen this movie. How did I forget this?
It's great world building, which is what I really like, and it's based on his D&D character actually. That's his Vin Diesel's long-running D&D character.
So is it are there D&D? Is it a D&D movie then? Would you say?
No. Just character. Yeah, completely story by itself. No, all made up by itself.
Like monsters or anything from. Oh, interesting. Because
the only monsters are like witches and stuff.
Although now that I'm thinking about it, spoilers for that movie, I guess. Isn't Elijah Wood the bad guy in the end? Or am I crazy? Am I misremembering that? Isn't the twist that he turns out to be the bad guy?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I did watch that movie.
It's good. It's really good. Like just as someone who likes to make stories, you just consume as much as you can. And
he's so Vin Diesel generally is so strange in the stuff that he wants to make happen, but just doesn't. It just really feels like Mean Girls, where it's like, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's never gonna happen. Where it's like
Vin Diesel happened. He's like,
oh, for Fast and the Furious, he really wants it to happen, but nobody really likes him in it. It's the kind of just the movies. I don't know. Nobody is like, yeah, I'm excited or he wants Triple X to happen, and it doesn't happen, so he turns Fast and the Furious into Triple X.
I mean, I am Groot.
Yeah. That's where he's getting all the money to do all the, he really wants, because he's gonna do
or he was also the Iron Giant. People like that movie.
No, the one he really wants to have happen is Chronicles of Riddick. He really wants Chronicles of Riddick to happen. For some reason. I don't know why.
Because it's awesome? Because it's freaking awesome?
Those movies don't do well, though. They don't do well. That's why it's never sprung out into a franchise. But yeah, he's rebooting it yet again.
It doesn't do well. We should talk about Star Wars then. It's things that aren't going too well.
You know what?
I mean,
fair. We're gonna get to Star Wars. Actually, we do have we have a shared Star Wars thing.
Yeah, we do.
I'm gonna have to jump off here.
Oh, that's cool, Tim.
Dog outside.
That's all good. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for stopping by. Everyone. Sorry. Shout out your stuff one more time.
So, Ghost Drums Around the World is now backstage with Tim Callaghan every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central. You can find me on TikTok, backstage with TC.
Excellent, and I will be there. I'll check you out.
Awesome.
You're already following, so you'll know that Ghost Drums is going to be changed to
absolutely. And like I said, I have it tagged in the description of this video. And Tim, obviously. You are welcome back anytime. It was excellent having you. It was really fun. It was really fun.
Same here. I had a good time.
Yeah. We'll talk. We'll chat. It's good to meet you. Thank you for.
I learned a little bit too.
Cool.
Nice meeting you.
Cool. That's great. Yeah.
Take care, guys.
You have a good one.
Have a good one.
Later days.
Bye. And then there was three.
Thank you, Tim. Yes. What was I saying?
Were talking about Riddick, I think.
Oh, I was making fun of Chronicles of Riddick. Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about Star Wars. Jordan, I think that's it for me for stuff. Oh no, I have to talk about Immortals. Sorry, that's where we were going with this.
I have one more have not seen. So are we doing back and forth like usual?
Yeah. We just did yours. I'm about to do mine.
Oh, this was Michael's. Right. Now we're doing yours.
Michael's.
We're back on the program here. Okay.
We're not used to 3 people, Michael. I'm sorry.
We're not used to
you're a welcome addition. You're a welcome addition, though. Don't get it wrong. Any guest is a welcome addition. Thank you, Tim.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tim.
So my
Michael.
My second one I had seen. Penny against one I had seen was the Henry Cavill movie, The Immortals. Pre-Superman Henry Cavill, The Immortals. I know Jordan's seen it, but he probably doesn't remember it. Michael,
I've seen it.
Yes, you have. Yes.
What is it?
Okay, you don't remember it. Okay, never mind. I'm gonna have to describe this either way.
As is a common trend on this show, you will find my memory is unreliable at best.
Fair enough. Okay, well let's maybe first, Michael, have you seen Immortals? Do you know it? Henry Cavill.
I know of it. I've never seen it.
Okay, I'm gonna have to describe it either way. So, it is the myth. It's Greek mythology, and it is Theseus, the myth of Theseus. He fights King Hyperion, and it's like at one point he's the one who fights the Minotaur, and it's a very strange movie because it's very much a movie where like the Greek gods exist as a concept, magic theoretically exists in this universe, but like they're like, oh, but the Minotaur is just a guy with like a bull helmet on, made out of like thorns.
And that's where we draw the line.
It's just like, it's also super graphic, like graphically violent, in like a cartoony fun way that like when I was 21 when this movie came out, I absolutely loved. But like just super over the top, just violent. Henry Cavill, I remember it's the movie that made me go, yeah, okay, he'd be an okay Superman. That's the movie I remember, and we saw it with a mutual friend, Jordan. And it's one of those ones where we're like,
was it during that period where you worked at the theater and we watched so many movies that I can be forgiven for not remembering it?
Yeah, it's absolutely that time period. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. Then I don't feel so bad about not remembering.
It's like a 300 knockoff, but like somehow way more violent than 300. It's great. It's a very fun movie if you like hyperviolence.
I do. Like
there's a point where Ares, the god of war, like just drops from the sky and just starts decimating guys left and right, and it's honestly really, it's like in slow motion but like more interesting than.
Sounds like Clash of the Titans.
Kind of. It's like really violent Clash. I think this came out around the same time as the one with Channing Tatum, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Not Channing Tatum. Yeah. No, Sam Worthington. That one. The one that had Liam Neeson in it.
Very interesting.
So yeah, it was like it was presented as this is not the not PG version of Clash of the Titans, and yeah, it's one of those like the story exists so much as to like move you from one really violent action sequence to the next really violent action sequence. It's one of those movies. But yeah, it's fun. I enjoyed it. I was like, oh yeah, this kind of scratched a particular itch when I was a particular age. I think it was like I was more forgiving of this than maybe I should have been in my initial assessment of it.
Probably.
Yeah.
There was a lot of cases where you were, and there was a lot of cases where I was harsher on movies than I probably should have been.
This is true. But yeah, that was Immortals. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. If you guys haven't seen it, you should watch it. I don't know if it's on anything.
Big dumb fight scene is basically what you're describing.
Big dumb fight scene. A lot of big dumb. What's his face is in it? Mickey Rourke is in it. That's why I kept wanting to say Mickey Rourke, and he's terrible. They're supposed to be Greek, but like half of them are doing British accents, but he's just Mickey Rourke. Like Henry Cavill is British, and then Mickey Rourke is just Mickey Rourke. It's bad. It's bad. It's
lazy.
Yeah, it's so violent. But like in that really like they slice a person's arm off, and it's really satisfying kind of way.
Gratuitous is definitely the word of the day.
Yeah. Henry Cavill, he's like his physicality. I'm like, man, it's a shame Zack Snyder killed that man's career because he could have been doing way more physical stuff way earlier in his career. It's like, yeah, he kind of is now, but his whole bit now I find is just, hey, I'm Henry Cavill. Like I don't know if you've seen, I know Jordan has it, but have you seen Argyle, Michael?
It's on my list.
Well, without giving anything away, his whole bit in that movie is I'm Henry Cavill. That's his whole bit. Like that's the one joke. Is, I'm Henry Cavill. Look how I'm Henry Cavill. At least in my opinion, that's what.
I heard he was pretty good in. What's the one with Armie Hammer?
Oh,
with who?
The Man Without Uncle.
Yeah. I heard he was good in that.
I think I've seen that one. I think I have, and I think I liked it. I like Henry Cavill. I don't want to get into a diatribe about Henry Cavill Superman. I like him as Superman. He got screwed. That's my opinion. But I don't think, to be fair,
I hate those movies. If you want to hear my opinions on those movies, I have done those movies on this show. We could flash back to that.
But yeah, he's really good physically, and a lot of the he's doing a lot of sword work that's just really cool. There's a sequence early on where he fights like 5 or 6 guards. It's just cool. Like it would have been nice to see him be a more hand-to-hand kind of actor rather than just what he became, which like stand there and look stoic. Yeah, he's really good physically. Anyway, that was Immortals. That was Greek fantasy. Jordan, what is your second one you would see?
My second and final one that I have seen is a Brendan Fraser movie called Inkheart. Came out in 2008, apparently, which I didn't realize it was that old.
Yeah.
I was still in high school when this came out, like decades ago. Jeez.
Well, I watched this in theaters when I worked at the movie theater. This was when I worked at the movie theater.
I don't remember the first time I watched it, but
I like
it's got Brendan Fraser, Paul Bettany, Helen Mirren, and other actors, Andy Serkis.
Yeah.
And basically, Cold Notes version, Brendan Fraser is a silver tongue who, when he reads out of the book out loud, things come out of the book, and then the movie happens.
Yeah.
Andy
Serkis is a pretty kind of scary villain who is a former sidekick who wants.
In the book, he's like a grunt, and then when he gets taken out of the book, he becomes like the diabolical mastermind bad guy, the villain he was always meant to become. And it's fun. It's cute. I've watched it a couple times now actually, and it's just again like kind of the theme of my have seens this week is cotton candy. Nothing really of a major substance to it, but it's enjoyable.
I never seen a Brendan Fraser movie Fraser movie or show I didn't love. Like even the bad ones, even Bedazzled. I like Bedazzled. Bedazzled is fun.
I'm sure there has been one, but off the top of my head, I can't think of one.
Like the best thing everyone was like, oh, the whale, oh, the whale, oh, the whale. But like for me, the Renaissance started with Doom Patrol. Because that show is severely underrated. And every chance I get, I tell people they need to watch Doom Patrol. Michael, have you seen Doom Patrol?
It has been suggested, and I know he's done a good job.
He is phenomenal on Doom Patrol. I mean, they all are, but he is so good on Doom Patrol.
I think I've seen some of that. I don't know if I ever finished it, but I remember him doing a very good job in it.
They're all phenomenal. I mean, my thing was like Candy off of 2.5 Men is on it, and she's really good. Like it's honestly genuinely a very good show, and I was very disappointed it got canceled. But yeah, that's the one I'm like, every person needs to watch this show. It's so good. Matt Bomer is amazing. But
Inkheart, good movie. I don't have a lot more to say about it. It's technically a fantasy.
Excellent. So let's do the it is. Yeah. Well, let's do the have not seen. Jordan, I think I'm going to go first on this one.
Okay.
Because I want to ask Michael, have you seen, and I'm sort of sad I didn't get to do it with Tim, because I would have liked to hear his perspective on this, but Michael, have you seen the movie Pumping Iron? The 1970s documentary with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah, many times.
Beautiful. Yeah. I would love to hear your perspective on that movie from a personal trainer, fitness guy. That movie, from my perspective, presents Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lou Ferrigno as like, you just got to do what they do. You just got to lift weights and lift weights and lift weights. Lifting weights is better than orgasming. Just do that. And Jordan was like, don't do it. I was going to do it, Jordan. It was always going to happen. That was the cleanest way it was going to happen. It's way more prolonged in the movie. It's super weird. It's not the weirdest thing in that movie, but it's prolonged. Anyway.
Oh, Justin.
So yeah, that movie presents those guys as being possible, but me from 2024, I'm just like, they were all on steroids, right? Like they only looked like that because they did just a bunch of steroids. Like they cheated. Like it's not just do a bunch of chin ups and you're gonna become Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I mean, steroids weren't illegal. I don't think back then.
Were
you could
they not?
pretty easily get them from a doctor. Like everyone was on it.
Yeah,
interesting.
Professional wrestling. I mean, everyone talks about professional wrestling, but my thing with watching this movie. A lot of it is just a lot of people standing in a room watching guys just flex, and I'm like, and they're like, we're athletes, and I'm like, I can see how you would think you were, but I don't know. I don't.
They are. They very, very much are.
Yeah,
athletes. I mean, if you think like golfers are athletes.
Yeah, true.
True.
But,
I suppose.
But they are okay. They're the pinnacle of a fitness you shouldn't achieve unless you're very dedicated to do that.
Interesting perspective.
It is very dangerous because when they're stepping on stage, they are like a whisper away from death. Like one of them could just drop dead. Because once you get that body fat that low, you are in the realm of danger. Like you are in big. Like anything could go wrong. Like your kidneys can shut down like at an instant. And then you're in big time trouble.
So because when I was reading about this movie, the version of it that it was gonna be, which was it was gonna be about like taking a regular guy and turning him into Arnold Schwarzenegger turning him into Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'm like, as a movie. As a demonstration of what the sport is, that seems like a better demonstration, I guess, than what this was, because this was just like, I don't know, it just made it. I'm just like, it just sort of feels like they all just were on drugs, and it's not like as easy as like. Okay, here's...
Whereas if they took someone that didn't look like him and they just had on camera, all right, buddy, so all you have to do is you take all these steroids,
well, I mean, like,
and you'll look just like him.
He does it legit, like and we see it performed. Yeah, I guess maybe my 2024 brain wouldn't be like they just cheated.
Yeah, so basically they would go in, say the guy, and they'd be like, "Oh, you got to go talk to our doctor and go get some stuff," and start injecting her pills or whatever. But like they would have to do they'd have to follow him for like 10 years for him to even come close to looking like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, like it's not like, oh, I'll look like that in 6 months. Like, no.
Yeah.
No, like you will not.
So
genetics play a big part into it, but
interesting. So
you just won't inject as much as you want and look like that.
Here's my other question. This is my question for you as a trainer.
Oh boy.
Lou Ferrigno, when he's lifting, I don't know when the last time you watched that movie was, but when he's lifting weights in that movie,
I think I know exactly what scene you're going to mention.
Is his form really bad, or is it like when he's like his wrists go all the way back, and that doesn't look safe? Or am I just completely off?
I'd have to look into it.
Like he's like, whoa, and it's like all the way back.
But I think I remember the one where he's just like Arnold.
Yeah.
So a lot of that movie was fake.
That I did know, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, in order to get proper size, you can lift fast if you want to lift fast or fasting. But the best thing he could have done is like just really slow, and that just doesn't look good.
Yeah.
Like instead of just like repping it out.
No.
Yeah, just super slow coming down. Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun movie. It's an interesting look into their world. Something I don't even approach.
Yeah, I was so interested on your perspective because I'm like, it just doesn't seem healthy. But like as a movie, what kind of bugged me about it was structurally it doesn't really make any sense because it starts off like, oh, it's about Arnold, right? This movie's about Arnold. That's what this movie's about. And then out of nowhere, it's about that one guy who, like, me from the future is, like, isn't famous. So, like, I don't really know who he is. And then it just stops being about him out of nowhere. Like, he never really, I think he meets Arnold, like, once. And then it's all of a sudden about Lou Ferrigno versus Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I'm like, yeah, this is the Hulk versus Terminator. That's rad. I'm like, why wasn't the whole movie that?
Well, I mean, the whole basis of the movie was them at the Olympia. I don't remember what year, like maybe like 84 or something like that. But I look at it like it's a different era of filmmaking
Interesting.
where, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not filmed like it is now. So you got to look at it through a different set of like a different way to look at it. Just like
Yeah.
just like watching older movies, you got to be like, oh, I guess, styles have changed and tastes have changed and expectations have changed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But this was more set up as a documentary,
Oh, interesting.
mockumentary, I
'Cause
suppose.
I guess
But
because I
like,
didn't watch it like that. I guess because I knew it was fictional. Part of it was fictional. I didn't enter. I was like, I'm looking at this as a narrative, and it's not a very effective narrative.
yeah, no, it was like just a couple of like a small crew of guys jumping back and forth filming, and they had a time limit to meet, right? They a schedule because they had to be on those guys had to be on stage. And I think what a lot of people forget is like it's like when people will come to me and be like, I want to train like that, especially boxing and MMA, like
Oh
UFC,
yeah.
where they see their training, like that lead up training videos, montages that they do before their fights,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
where they're
training,
like
yeah.
the fighters are just ripped and they're like in the best shape that they're in. But it's like,
Mhm.
well, you're not you're seeing these people at the tail end, the
Yeah.
very tail end of their program, where they're like on point,
Yeah.
whereas you don't see where they start,
Yeah.
which is always so
Exactly.
that's one part of that movie. Is like you're seeing them the last like probably like 5 weeks maybe.
Yeah. Well, and
The
with
peak of
Arnold,
their
it's at the end of
the
his
peak of their
career.
game.
Yeah. Well, yeah. With
Yeah, I
Arnold,
think he came back afterwards.
yeah, he came out of well. I was reading about it. But yeah, he came out of retirement a couple of times, but yeah, that was like the framing of the movie is he's retiring at the end of the movie. And so it's like, yeah, so theoretically it's the end of it's the pinnacle of his career because it's like he wins at the end, and it's like he's the big grand champion. The thing that was interesting to me was like, yeah, this is it. This is the thing that made him famous. Like it's funny because Jordan, yeah, I guess with that we'll wrap up. Pumping Iron, and then we can talk about Jordan. You watched. Why just do Conan?
My first have not seen is Conan the Barbarian, the 1982 Arnold Schwarzenegger one.
Which was his big. That's the movie that launched Arnie, man. That's the one that made him famous.
It's yeah, I mean it's definitely so this is an example of I struggle with this sometimes watching it as if I was in the 1980s when
You
I'm
have to
actually
do that.
in 1920 or I'm actually in 2024. It feels old to me. Like it felt old, but it is still fun, and it definitely made me aware that I don't actually know a lot about Conan the Barbarian.
He's a comic
Other
book
than
character, right?
he is a comic book
Yeah,
character.
yeah. What a
He
well-known
has
one, right?
I think so.
Kind of. He's like, I don't think he was comics first. He was like a small short stories of like novellas.
Oh, interesting.
Okay,
I thought maybe he
interesting.
was like
But
a Dick Tracy kind of scenario where he's like a comic strip character, not a comic book character. You know what I mean?
maybe, but I know the one big difference though between like what's in the books and what Arnold brought was he's not. I wouldn't classify him as a barbarian. He's more of like a
No.
rogue, and he steals things and he sneaks around. He's not.
Yeah.
Very like sneaky,
Because
yeah.
The point of
Really?
this movie is that him and his two partners, they're thieves and they're trying to steal back the princess of this one king from
Interesting.
the snake cult. So yeah, they're definitely like they're very
So is
very
this
much
smart
thieves.
Arnold or is this dumb Arnold?
He's not smart, but he's not dumb.
Interesting.
He's smart considering it takes place in like medieval
I
kind
will
of
say,
times.
just real quickly, going back to Pumping Iron, young Arnold Schwarzenegger is a charismatic dude. Like, just like
Oh,
you're
yeah.
like, oh yeah, I get it. Like, wow, like he just exudes charisma. It's very odd.
Yeah.
I don't know how he. I think it's funny. People I would often say like people like, oh, The Rock is like Hulk Hogan, but I would almost be like, oh shit, I lost it. Nope, completely gone. Sorry, my mind drew a blank there. It happens. No. So anyway.
But as I was watching it though, I kept especially like when he got the sword, like when he first picks up the sword with Conan the Barbarian.
Arnold is more like Hulk Hogan. That's what I was gonna say. Sorry, sorry, it came back to me.
I kept waiting for him to be like, "I have the power," and then I'm like, "Wait, no, that's He-Man."
I think they're similar, aren't they?
That's the other big burly man who has a sword and a bunch of people that hang out with them. I can see how I could have gotten confused, but
yeah. So okay, so good movie, bad movie. What's the general consensus here?
For the time, I think it's good.
Interesting.
For my time, I found it a little dry.
Is it one of those like you're like I get it kind of movies? Yeah, I get why it's iconic.
I understand why it's iconic. I understand what there is to be drawn to for it. I think at that point, I had watched several too many fantasy movies and was kind of getting a little bit at the end of my rope here. Same feelings I have for the next one that I'll be talking about.
Fair enough.
But overall, yeah, it's if you like fantasy, it's fantasy.
Interesting. That's very funny.
That being said, I don't see. Okay, so at the beginning of the movie, you see you see Conan as a kid, and then like he grows into Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I just don't believe that kid becomes Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's right. That was my question. My question was, does Arnold do his own lines in this one? Because his previous movie, the first movie he ever did was his Hercules movie, where very notoriously he had such bad English that they dubbed over him.
He talks.
Is he doing his own lines? Interesting.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, this one's it's on my list. I always wanted to watch it.
Which is the other thing that kind of throws me, because the kid in the beginning doesn't really have Arnold Schwarzenegger's accent, so it's like, I guess the headcanon is supposed to be that, like, living as a slave with the terrible people, he picked up the accent.
I don't know.
I guess. I don't know.
I
guess you're not supposed to think about it.
It's called suspension of disbelief. It's like, that's not dumb Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, just go with it. It's like when it's just a real weird segue. This is why I don't like modern movies a lot these days. When everything's so dark, like it's just pitch black.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
It's like when everything's like blue, right? When it's in the forest at night, you're not in real life. You're not gonna see anything.
Yeah.
But when it's dark blue, it's like, oh, I know it's at night, but I appreciate them putting some light in there so I could actually see what's going on.
Yeah.
I know it's not that bright. Like I know.
I have suspension of disbelief.
Yeah. Oh, it's like when movies go out of their way to. It's like the Disney movies. I don't think it's the Disney movies, but when they go out of their way to explain a question that you never asked about a previous version of the movie, shit like that drives me crazy. Like, I don't need you to answer this. It's fine.
Certain things you don't need to touch on. It's fine.
But interesting about my favorite run of Arnold movies are the ones where it's like Arnold is feeling self-conscious that people think he's dumb. So like this 6 Days is one of my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, because that's the one where he's like, I'm smart Arnold. That's why I'm like, is he smart Arnold? That movie's really good. I don't want to sound like I'm disparaging it. That movie's very fun. But that was like when he did like
Jingle All the Way.
Jingle All the Way, yeah. Where he's like, I'm just regular dad Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Dash a princess.
That movie's great. I love that movie. But he's like, I'm regular guy. I don't just do action movies. I do dad movies. Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Overall, I enjoyed Conan the Barbarian. It's overall a fun movie.
That sounds fun. So my other haven't seen. Jordan also hadn't seen. But I'm not sure. Did you watch the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte, Michael? Being a Star Wars guy.
No. It hasn't hooked me. I've kind of given up after Kenobi.
Interesting.
This wasn't going to be about Kenobi. We weren't going to talk about Kenobi. No,
I'll come back on if you want to talk about these shows. I will wholeheartedly talk about them.
No.
But yeah, I think it's a sinking ship.
Interesting.
That they should just get rid of, and yeah.
So, I know this is one of your picks, Justin, but I did also watch the 2 episodes of The Acolyte, so I do feel qualified to speak on this one. I enjoy it because it doesn't take place in the Skywalker saga.
It's trying to be different.
Yeah, which it allows them the real estate to kind of do things that are a little bit not necessarily in quote unquote canon. It's the places where they can be more expressive and be different. So like they have for example Wookiee Wookiee Jedi,
Yeah, Wookiee
which
Jedi.
are which is like a big with
Which I can't say I
w-
don't love.
yeah, like there's something entertaining about it.
He
I don't
barrels in
know,
at
maybe
the end
it's
of the
just
second
me.
episode in the middle of like a winter planet, like a big like Sasquatch, and just kills a bunch of people. And it's fucking awesome. I'm not gonna lie, there's stuff on there that, and like it takes place in a different era. Here's where like not that I'm selling you on this show, but here's where I will say that I'm with you. I couldn't be bothered to watch.
The Ahsoka show. I
I
wouldn't.
couldn't be bothered to watch the Ahsoka show. Andor, I was like, who cares? Um, After season 2, just kind of became, hey, look, it's Luke Skywalker of the Mandalorian. I lost interest. So like, I get it. I get where you're at.
Yeah, I do. I
I,
do too.
I,
I only, quite frankly, I only give Obi-Wan a half pass, not even a full pass, because I like
I
Ian
like Ewan
McGregor
McGregor as Obi Wan. Yeah.
as Obi-Wan, and so I go into that show and watch it as if it's a Elseworld story. It doesn't, like, in my head canon, it doesn't connect to any of the other stuff. It's its own independent story, and I just like Ian McGregor.
Yeah. He's fine.
As for the acolyte, um, part of the reason why it right from the beginning excited me more than any of the other stuff is because it's not in the Skywalker saga. Any of the characters are on the chopping block. Whereas in Obi-Wan, you know Obi-Wan's going to survive. You know he's going to end up back on Tatooine because he has to be there, because he has to be there for A New Hope. Whereas in this Acolyte show, any of those characters
Yeah.
could die. They're not.
Do you
They're no one.
do you mind if we spoil it a little bit for you, Michael?
No, I've been watching like reviews on it and stuff.
So the funniest thing that has happened on that show is it was really heavily marketed as having Carrie-Anne Moss in it. Like she was in all the marketing, and they kill her within the first like minute and a half of the first episode. Just immediately,
Yeah.
just dead, and the entire scene is probably the worst scene. She
There
just
goes
does,
Trinity.
yeah, she's just Trinity. The scene is just they're doing kung fu because it's Carrie-Anne Moss and she's Trinity, and she's doing kung fu, and occasionally she does some moderately interesting stuff with the Force, and it's like, yeah, okay, this is kind of interesting as like a concept, because yeah, generally it's interesting to see Jedi who don't just immediately go for the lightsaber. Like that's a big thing with this version of the Jedi. They don't just immediately go to the lightsaber. I'm like, that is not uninteresting. Like there's stuff in there that I'm like, I'm not uninterested, and it's like, it's at least it's trying to do something different. I don't know, but I understand this. I understand where you're coming from though, because and with Obi-Wan, I get it with that show.
I get it.
I get it. There's so many that shows Swiss cheese. There's so many plot holes. Like,
yeah. Well, my big issue with like what's going on with them lately is like it's just bad writing. It's just like let's take the Carrie-Anne Moss thing. It's like just stop her with the Force.
Yeah, fair
Problem
enough.
solved.
Yeah,
Just no, stop, done. Like
yeah,
stop, please.
yeah.
And it's like they just couldn't think of a way around around that.
They
Like,
call that they call that shower logic, where it's like you're in the shower and you're like, wait.
Why didn't they just do this thing?
Yeah.
I think I heard a quote or someone talking about it. It was like, I think it's Alfred Hitchcock said something about the refrigerator test.
That's
if
what
you get
it is.
up you get up like in the middle of the night and you go get something to eat from the fridge. Like, are you still thinking about that movie?
Yeah.
And it's like it is just a nothing burger. Like there's nothing of value I think to watch, and it's so sad.
Yeah.
Because the idea of like the Acolyte, that sounds cool. Oh, then it's just like what? Then it's like, but I know what they're gonna do with it. It's gonna be like, meh.
Yeah.
My thing with Star Wars over the years in particular, is for me it's kind of become, I don't much care for the shows or the movies. I like the games more than I like the movies. I find that the games have done more interesting things
Yeah, I'm
with
interested in
it.
that bounty hunter game that's coming out. You were talking about like the bounty
Yeah,
hunter. That's that bounty hunter game that genuinely actually looks fun, like that, and it's made by EA. And I'm like, this actually looks like a good game. What's happening?
it's
Give it time.
yeah, fair.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, fair. That is fair.
um, but like, yeah, I just the games have interested me way more. Like, I like the Jedi Fallen Order games. They're to me more interesting. I think the biggest thing that made me interested in the Acolyte for the first time was the fact that it wasn't in the Skywalker saga.
Yeah, the
As
fact
soon
that
as
Luke Skywalker
you
can't show up, I was pretty
as
happy.
well,
Yeah.
not even just Luke Skywalker, but Palpatine, Vader, anyone related to the Skywalkers at all. I'm done with that. We've done that story. We've done all the
Yeah.
in between 3 and 4, in between 4 and 5. We've done all of that.
Plumb
The
the
only
depths.
other thing like in the Skywalker saga that's coming out, which has me remotely interested, and that's purely because I like what if stories, is there's that Lego one that's coming out where it's
Yeah.
like they go to like an alternate reality and you've
Darth
got
Jar
like
Jar!
Darth Jar Jar is gonna be a thing, and I'm like, okay, you had me at Darth Jar Jar. That has my
I'm
interest.
in it for Darth Jar Jar. That sounds fun.
Like that
sounds fun.
sounds insane and silly, and you know what? I'll check it out just for that. Okay, sure.
But
Because I like a good alternate reality
I'm
what
loving
if
a good
story.
what if. But yeah, wrapping up on the Acolyte, I will say, yeah, it's. I'm giving it a chance. I've only seen the first 2 episodes. I'm giving it a chance based on the fact that at least it's trying. At least it's not. Yeah, at least it's not doing a live action show that's a sequel to a show that I didn't watch. So I'm like, I don't care. Who cares that Rosario Dawson is Ahsoka?
Oh,
I don't care.
don't even get me
I don't
started
care.
on
Who
that
cares?
version of her where she's out of character.
I don't care.
Anyway,
But
um,
I will say
I
Obi-Wan had some
I
cool stuff with Darth Vader. I will give it that. There was some cool stuff with
well,
Darth Vader.
that's where I say I if I look at that show independent of the rest of the movies, I can enjoy it, and that's largely because of
Yeah.
funny enough, Hayden Christensen and Obi-Wan,
Ian
blanking
McGregor.
on the name for a second there. Thank you. They elevate the product.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it is because of them that I am able to derive any enjoyment from that show. Because otherwise, yeah, the fact that he leaves Tatooine would drive me batshit crazy.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
it's incomprehensible.
like
Anyway.
that being said, on one last thing about Star Wars, if I ever get to go to Disneyland, I absolutely want to make a lightsaber.
I'm not saying if I had $6,000 I would have gone to that Star Cruiser hotel, but I probably would have. I make bad choices.
I might have considered it.
I might have considered it. Finally, Jordan, what is your final one that you hadn't seen?
My final one that I
home.
haven't that I haven't seen is a Netflix 2024 Netflix movie called Damsel.
I heard
It's
that movie was okay.
It's that Millie Bobby Brown one where she's fighting a dragon and there's
Now,
stuff. It's fine. I don't know.
Have you seen Damsel, Michael? Are you a Netflix movie person? Do you have Netflix?
I haven't even heard of this movie.
Excellent.
Oh.
I have heard of it. I've never seen it. Jordan, tell us what this movie's about.
So Millie Bobby Brown is a princess in this one castle-y area, and then her dad and stepmother, because they very much deliberately multiple times say stepmother. I don't know why it had to be your stepmother. It doesn't really play into it at all, but she's your stepmother.
If I had to guess, I'd say it's probably like the fairy tale Cinderella. You're supposed to like associate it with the Cinderella.
Oh no, she's good. She's nice.
So it's not an evil stepmother thing.
No, it's not an evil stepmother thing. She's a very nice woman who is very wants the best for her stepdaughters, and she could have just been there. Like, I don't understand why she is a stepmother. I don't. It doesn't.
You just mean functionally in the script she could have been a mom. You're saying
she could have just been their mother.
Gotcha.
I think the only reason why she has to be, or they feel she has to be, is because it's a race thing. The dad is white, they're white, and she's black.
So it's not even like they don't even do a dead mom thing?
No, they don't really acknowledge the mom.
Oh, so she could easily just be the mom. And
she could have just... Yeah, I don't really get it. later. Okay, so I'm jumping the shark here a bit. Um, so these people from a different kingdom, I think it is, are basically like, we want one of your daughters, and if you give us one of your daughters, we will take your poor ass country place area, and give you guys a bunch of money, so your people won't be poor anymore. And the dad's like, okay, this is medieval times, and I'm gonna sell my daughter. Okay. Um, so he does,
Right.
and he marries her off to their son, and then turns out, oh, spoiler alert, they have been propagating this for decades and taking people and marrying them, and then doing this like blood ritual where they like do blood to blood, and then putting the damsel into the cave where there's this dragon who, I guess, like centuries ago they killed that dragon's children. And so then the dragon was all like, "Yeah, if you don't want me to destroy your people and everything, I want all of your daughters,
For just
all
like
of them,
ever?
forever until I
Forever.
die. Like I
All
want
right.
all of your daughters." And so these people have been tricking the dragon by doing the blood thing, so that these people that are marrying into their family, like the blood, they smell like them.
Gotcha.
So then the dragon thinks that it's getting the children of this bad royal family, but the bad royal family is really just tossing down basically like peasants. Um, because there's a point where the stepmom goes to the mother, what will soon be the mother-in-law, is like, "Oh, is there any way I can help?" And is trying to be all friendly and stuff. And the future mother-in-law is basically like, there's really no reason for us to engage. Like you were like what a seamstress, I think she was, and like, yeah, you've really elevated your situation, and that's really cool, but like, we're not looking for family here. This is a transactional thing. There's really no need for us to communicate at all. Go away.
Huh.
Uh, and which
Not
I
very
guess
nice.
is I guess in medieval times, I guess is the reason why she's got to be the stepmother, is to
Oh,
really is to really point out the fact that she's like risen above her station.
got it. Yeah, because she's a person of color. Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
Got it.
I'm assuming that's the implication.
So, well, Michael, does this movie sound appealing to you? Because I want to know the ending. I want to know if they beat the dragon. So I'm going to ask him to spoil the end if that's cool with you.
Spoil it. I don't think I'll I don't think I'll watch it.
I don't imagine I'm going to either. I just want to know if they beat the dragon.
I quite honestly wouldn't have watched it if it wasn't for this.
Yeah, it sounds very tepid. Very tepid
So
review.
you end up finding out because I missed the point exactly where she figures it out, but Millie Bobby Brown somehow ends up figuring out that these people, the royal family, killed the dragon's offsprings, and that's why the dragon is pissed, because we're led in the beginning of the movie to believe that this is just a dragon that kills people and is evil and like is your
Gotcha.
typical dragon,
And
right?
you find out that
And
the humans are the bad guys.
you find out that the humans are the bad guys, and they've been tossing innocent people down to feed to the dragon, and the dragon just wants, revenge because they murdered her children unprovoked. Like the dragon didn't do anything, and they just
Gotcha.
came in and killed its offsprings. And so then Millie Bobby Brown is fighting the dragon and gets to the point where like basically the dragon is like on death's door, and she's holding the sword above it, and the dragon's all like, "Kill me!" And Millie Bobby Brown is all like, "No, I'm tired of people telling me what to do. Fuck you." And earlier in the movie, there was these slugs, like these glow in the dark slugs, that when they go on your cuts, they like heal your cuts. So she puts one on the dragon, and then the dragon is all healed, and then Millie Bobby Brown goes back to the royal family and is all like, "Surprise, bitches! I'm here, and you should feel bad about yourself." And
Surprise, Daenerys Targaryen, motherfuckers.
yeah, pretty much. And the queen mother lady is like, "Oh, you just because you escaped, you think we should be afraid of you? Fuck you!" And I'm paraphrasing, of course.
Naturally.
And Millie Bobby Brown is all like, "No, you shouldn't be afraid of me. You should be afraid of that bitch up there." And the dragon is all there and is all like, and like breathes fire all over them and kills them all. and then that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the ending.
That sounds all right.
I actually, and the fun thing is, I actually like how they portray the fire in this, like the fire that the dragon uses, because it's less. It's kind of like it's sort of like a combination between magma and fire.
Interesting.
Like in a lot of the physics ways of how it moves, it reminds me of like lava or magma, but visually it looks like fire. It's actually kind of cool.
Interesting.
So that's really all I have to say about that. It's fine. At this point, I had watched so much fantasy that I was like, you know what? I think I'm good. I think I think I'm
fair. That's fair.
That's enough.
That's enough genre now.
Yeah.
So with that, we move on to the next week's assignment. And normally, Michael, I'd be like, Michael, I let you pick next week's assignment, but because it's my birthday, not this week, but the week after that, on the 19th, we're doing a birthday thing. So we're gonna do nostalgia.
He can give us one for a future episode.
Sure, yeah. What is the topic? Or if you want, we're gonna have Michael back. I think if Michael wants to come back, think of a topic.
Yeah, I'll come back.
Think of a topic that you want to do, and then when I go to and I'm like, Michael, I'll come on back. You can give it to me, so you have lots of time to think about it. But next week we're gonna do because we will do anything. We don't discern as long as we can talk about it on YouTube. That's kind of the I had a person suggest some gnarly movies on Facebook that I was like, I don't think we can talk about that. That doesn't feel advertiser friendly. But we're next week. We're gonna do nostalgia. And what's nostalgic to us? What punches you right in the childhood? That's what we're gonna talk about. So that's gonna be pretty cool. So yeah, if anyone wants to play along, watch one of those.
Should be fun. If you guys have any suggestions of nostalgic things, feel free to leave them in the Discord too.
Discord, yeah. You follow us on Discord. We do the show every week on Discord. It's pretty easy. You can join. There might be slight technical issues at first, but we work them out. But you can follow us there.
We always work them out.
We might as well do the whole end of show plug. Jordan, where can they find you, Jordan?
I do Minecraft Mondays on Zethgore187 on Twitch.
Yes, and if more people show up, if people were like, "This is good podcasting," you should go check out Jordan on Twitch because that's good.
Yeah,
that's good streaming.
If more people show up, I might go back to doing more than one day a week. I used to do 7.
I am also on TikTok. I can go live. I don't because it's scary, but I can. I don't. But I'm on TikTok. It's a lot of this, but in shorter forms. I'm getting brutalized on TikTok in the views department right now, but whatever. Michael, where can the people find you? Thank you once again for joining us, for being patient with.
Oh, my pleasure. It was a lot of fun. I've never done anything like this before.
You are a natural. You are a natural. Let me tell you.
Naturally charismatic.
You are welcome on camera anytime. You fit right in.
Put on pants for this? Actually, no, I'm wearing shorts.
But thank you for joining us. Where can people find you? Where it's hot ones, but we don't make you eat spicy chicken wings. Look into that camera and that camera. Tell the people what you have going on.
Oh yeah. Oh man, just look me up on Facebook. High Point Fitness High Point Fitness. I recently changed it. I'm getting used to the name. Drop me a line if you need some help.
I have it in the description.
Drop me a line if you need some help. I mean, I think it's I bring a unique eye to fitness because I've done it. I don't know if you guys have met me when I was like really overweight.
No.
No. When I met you, you looked pretty much like this.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So I mean, I was over like 320 pounds.
Oh, wow.
I saw that on your Facebook video. That blew my mind.
Yeah. And I my lowest I've been was like just like a hair under 200. And,
wow.
So
good for you. Good on you. But
I've learned a lot of things. I've learned a lot of things not to do. I think is more important.
That's what I would say. I've learned. Jordan said this once, and it was such an astute bit of wisdom. I've learned the lessons and made the mistakes, so you don't have to. And I love that. I was like, that's brilliant. I'm gonna keep that. And so I in my supervisory capacity at work, I will often drop that. Like, I learned the lesson, so you don't have to. Usually it gets an eye roll, but sometimes people listen.
Yeah, do as I say, not as I do. Kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Cool. I'm on. Email the show. That was the last one. You can email the show. If you want to send us a line, you can do that. Please don't be weird. This is my one thing, man. Don't be weird. Otherwise,
don't get weird.
Don't be weird. That's all I ask. Don't be weird.
Like it's a simple request.
Yeah, like we want to do comment reactions so bad, but the comments have been so weird, guys. You've been weird. Don't be weird. Okay? Cool.
There's been some mean ones.
There's been some weird. You've been weird. Anyway, that's been the Spur of the Moment podcast, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you all next week with nostalgia.
Nostalgia.
No, hopefully.